All right, so here's the deal with this video, right? I've been really looking forward to making this, but I don't know really what I'm going to talk about. I have a little bit of a rough outline like in my head here, but on purpose because I really want to be off the cuff with this and tap into I guess a little bit of the emotional side here. We'll see what's going on. I on purpose I didn't script anything, I didn't outline, I didn't write anything down. I was kind of like, let me just get a few props and a few things and kind of put them all around here. And this will probably be a little bit of a rough video, but it's more just going to be me talking with you all. There's going to be some visual components to this, but I also just want to preface this by saying that for the most part, this is going to be a video where it's kind of just me talking and sharing, and I kind of just want to talk about why this system here has been influential to me, and it's going to go in probably a lot of different directions. One, because tangential conversation kind of happens when I'm just talking off the cuff about stuff, but the other thing too is that there's been a lot of aspects that this system has surprisingly helped me out with in many ways. It could be professionally, with the YouTube side of it, with just, enjoying things like personally or, together with people, whatever. There's been a lot that this system has done for me that I haven't really cataloged directly on here. It's more just been like stories here and there on the channel over so many years. And this is not even going to cover all of it, by the way. I'm just going to tell you all, there's going to be stuff I'm going to exclude from this video. There's going to be things I could show that I'm not going to show, but, that's part of the fun of it, I guess. So all I know is that I'm sitting here, I'm going to be talking about Xbox 360 stuff with you all on the 20th birthday of the Xbox. So happy birthday, Xbox 360. That guy right there, that one's not 20 years old, but Xbox 360 overall. Let's get one of these. No, I'll get mine. Here we go. Here we go. You, system, you. Happy birthday. 20 years. That's a long time for a system that's still supported here. By the way, hey, what's going on, everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario. I got my dog Lily in the corner over there. She's probably just going to be sleeping throughout this whole thing here. But yeah, we are just going to be talking about why I love and appreciate this system so much. What is so special about the Xbox 360? What keeps drawing me to it? Why I could never really, I guess, let this system go. And there's going to be a lot to it here. I should say this again. I'd never finished this part here. I'm not going to do too many takes on this. Too many edits here. Because I just want this to be really off the cuff. But no, what I'm trying to say is there is going to be some visuals. Like, I'll show and I'll share a few things here. But for the most part, if you want to have this video, like, on a side, like, monitor or something, if you want to have it running in the background, if you want to consume this more like a podcast, I'm not going to be offended. So there we go. Anyways, Xbox 360 ended up coming out November 22nd, 2005. That's it. Yeah, November 22nd, 2005. To give you all some background there, I was in middle school at the time when this came out. I was in 7th grade, and I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't really excited about it. There was a lot that was going on in my life that's, neither here nor there. Not really going to talk about that, but for the most part, I was playing some video games here and there, but there's been different parts in my life where I just don't really play video games that much, and this is kind of one of those times. I remembered that, my first console I ever got was the original Xbox. I actually got it, like, shortly after launch as well, so that was a really cool experience, but no, with the 360, it came out in 2005. I know there was this new Xbox that was going to be coming out, and honestly, the main reason why I wasn't really that excited for it was because I knew that I wouldn't be able to get it for a long time. When you're 12, like, 6 months feels like 6 years at that point. And then when you become an adult, it's like, actually, that's not really that long of a time. Even 6 years just goes by like that. So to any of my younger viewers, yeah, just keep that in mind. But either way, it happened then, and I remember a few things with it. One, I do remember there was one kid who, I guess him and his neighbors had ended up going to Walmart, and they stayed overnight to get the system. They end up getting like 4 or 5 of them, something like that. I think he said his neighbors got 4 of them, and I think his household got like 1 or 2. So there we go. I even got the numbers mixed up there. But I remember he was trying to tell us about it at the lunch table, right? And we were kind of poo-pooing it a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. It's not like it was a thing out of jealousy. Maybe for others it was. For me, it really wasn't. But it was just this new system. It had to come out. It was so expensive. It was $300 to get the core unit, which did not have a hard drive. It didn't have any storage to my recollection. I don't even remember if it had a memory unit with it actually, but it was $300. It had a wired controller, or for $400, you can get the one with the wireless controller and the 20 gigabyte hard drive. And I just remember looking at them even back then, and I was like, 20 bucks? Like, like 20 gig? It's not that much. And that's an expensive system. So that's why I was like, I knew I wasn't going to be able to afford it. There was no way I was going to be able to ask my parents about it. And also the games too. By the way, with all this talk about people complaining about Game Pass going up in price and $70 games and $80 games and the possibility of $100 games used to be $50. Like when I was a young kid, when I was growing up, they were $50. And then during the Xbox 360, when that came out, all of a sudden they jumped to $60. That was another thing. It's like, oh, great. Controllers have doubled in price. You know, controllers used to be able to get them for 20, 25 bucks. Now all of a sudden they're $40, $50. Same thing with games. They were $50. Now they're going up to $60. This is back then at least. And a lot of those initial games that came out for the 360 were also dual generation on there as well. So you could play them on the original Xbox, which I thought was smart because there were a lot of people who just weren't going to be able to get a hold of them. So this one kid, he ended up saying, he's like, no, dude, I got the 360 and like the graphics are like, they're really good. And we're like, okay. And he's like, no, but they're like really, really good. We're like, okay. He says, no, but like, you know, I'm playing like the new, like the Need for Speed game. It's like, yeah, but that's on Xbox. He's like, no, but it looks like really realistic. Like when you're driving, like, you know, there's water that will like come up like on the back of the tires and it splashes up on the camera. We're like, okay, dude, like this is not worth the price point here. Like even us as like 7th graders, we were thinking like that. Again, maybe for others it was jealousy. For me, I was just kind of looking at it pragmatically there. But that was the first part. The second part of it was the hype around this system, trying to get one of these after it launched. This is even before any of the stuff of like the Red Ring coming out or any of that. No, people are just wanting to get a hold of the system. Like I said, the core system was $300. The Pro system was $400. And they were selling for exorbitantly high prices on eBay. You could not go to a store to get a hold of one of these things. Like this was, you got to realize it was now 20 years ago, but it was like right before Thanksgiving was hitting, just over a month before Christmas was hitting. So it was really hard. Like this was a stocking stuffer, a big stocking stuffer that a lot of kids wanted. And a lot of them weren't able to get because their parents just could not get a hold of them. Like that was the simple aspect of it. I remember going on eBay, and I really wish like some of these listings were saved, but I remember going on eBay and I was seeing Xbox 360s selling for like over $1,000. I remember some of the really expensive ones that were, you know, going up to like $2,000-$3,000. Those were the ones where there were people who were just bundling a lot of stuff. Like they'd get the console and they'd get a controller and they'd get another controller and they kept like buying games. So they were going to the store, they were getting this stuff and they were adding it to the bundle. And here's one thing, one random eBay thing. I remember I was looking at this and like, I swear I have a memory of this. And I've been using eBay for a long time. I've been using eBay longer than the Xbox 360 has been around. So I had never seen this before. Maybe someone who's more well-versed with eBay, and legacy eBay at least, because I don't think you can do it now, maybe someone can explain what was going on here. But there was one listing, I swear, the seller added audio to the listing. Like, I'm not kidding. I remember I was looking at it, and it was one of those big bundles, and it was a guy, you could tell he's kind of like an older guy, and it was audio only, but you could like look at everything and such, and he was talking about like, oh yeah, you know, I end up getting this Xbox, and you know, this is going to be like a bundle deal, you're going to get it here, and just, you know, giving you all an update as well too. You know, I added a controller in, and it comes with, you know, 3 games, but you know, for whoever wins this, I think I'm actually going to be going to Walmart, and I'm going to be getting 1 or 2 more games, so I'm going to add them in here. I had never seen that before with an eBay listing. I know, see, I told you we were going to be going all over the place with this video because now we're just talking about eBay. But if anybody's ever seen that before, anybody's ever heard that, or if anybody ever knew about that functionality, let me know. I'd be curious about that. So that was my experience with the launch of the Xbox 360. I mean, I thought like the eBay hype was really cool. Oh, and I got like one more funny story as well too, right? There was this one dude I remember. There was one dude, I only met him a few times, right? Because it was one of those times there was like he was a not even family friends, it was other family that like my family was just like acquainted with at least, and they had this kid and he was like, I think he was about my age, but he was like really like showing off and all that stuff, and he was just trying to like ball harder than he actually could, and it had to be around that time from what I recall, because I remember he kept bragging to me, like he was doing this. He was just like, oh man, for Christmas, I'm going to be getting a 360 and I'm going to be getting this new NBA game and I'm going to get a big screen TV, like a big flat screen TV in my room. I'm like, okay, that's cool. He's like, oh, no, you can ask my dad. It's going to happen. I'm like, I'm good. And then he'd like be like, no, come here. And he'd like go to his dad. And this happened like 3 times throughout the night, right? He'd be like, dad, hey, for Christmas, I'm going to get the 360, right? And the flat screen TV, and his dad's like, yeah, okay, yes, we will, okay, yeah. And then he was just like, he just had this like shit-eating grin on his face. And I remember for me, I'm just like, okay, like that's cool, man. If you're gonna get the 360, that's awesome. But it was funny because he kept bragging about this. He kept talking up. And then like several months later, there was another like, family gathering or function or something, and I saw him there. And I remember I wasn't trying to be facetious about it, but I just asked him, I was like, hey, did you end up getting the 360? He didn't say anything. He couldn't even look at me. He didn't say anything. So maybe a little bit of a lesson as well too. It's like, hey, don't count your eggs before they hatch. Just something like that. So I guess my last bit on like it kind of launching there was I end up doing this later. I end up doing this in 8th grade, but I end up doing what a lot of people did. I had the original Xbox. I wasn't playing on Xbox Live. I never took that system onto Xbox Live. I honestly didn't really have much of an interest in getting on Live either. But I ended up doing the thing where I found out you could mod the system, and I ended up soft modding it. And it was like not a great soft mod, right? And I end up like messing it up at one point, and I was getting like an error code, and then I end up like re-soft modding it to fix it, but I couldn't access the original dashboard. It was a mess, right? Like it was a mess. And I have a video on this channel where I actually end up getting my original Xbox again, the first one I ever got. I ended up getting from my parents' house, and I ended up refurbishing it and cleaning it and upgrading it and, reflashing the BIOS and all that too, to really make it to be a modded system that I really would have wanted back then. It was kind of like a nice throwback to, my childhood there in a way. That was cool. But that's essentially the route that I took. So everyone was messing with the 360, the expensive games and all that stuff. I was having fun on my soft modded Xbox. That was good because at this point then I'd started, getting back into games a bit. And the thing that always kind of pulled me back in was always the technical side. So whether there was some new technical thing that was going on or whether there was a new mod or something like that, that's where I was like, I'm interested in this here. I'm really interested. And then, of course, you mod the system. What else can you do with it? You start playing games, and that kind of gets me back into gaming. It's happened several times in my life, including with the 360. It's happened as well. So then what happened when I end up getting my first system, I end up getting it around July. I don't remember the exact date, but it was like early July 2007. And it had taken months and months to get to this point, right? At the beginning, what ended up happening was I think it was around my birthday, actually. It was around my birthday. Again, I hadn't even entertained it with my parents, but, by this point, the Xbox 360 had been well out for over a year. I remember talking about this with, classmates as well, too. Like, one of them was telling me, like, I still remember this, right? You got to remember, we're like 8th grade boys at this point. Like, we're talking about this in the locker room, and one of them is just like, yo, do you hear there's going to be a new 360 that's coming out that's going to be black? And I was like, oh, that's cool. And that ended up being the Elite. That's actually the one I ended up getting. So in order to get that, I remember my birthday had come and gone. And I'm talking with my parents like near the end of my birthday. And they're like, well, how much money do you have saved up? And I said, I have this much saved up. And they're like, oh, wow, that's a lot. And yeah, at the time, yes, it was a lot. And they said, well, maybe you could, do you have anything you want to get? And I said, haven't really thought of anything. And then they said, well, maybe you might want to, like, do you maybe want to get, like, a game system or something? Like, a new game system? And I was like, y'all tricking me or what? I thought that they were tricking me because I originally had, like, I had several game systems, right? And there was some other ones I was wanting to get, but my dad actually shut them down because he was like, dude, you already have these other systems. Like, you got enough. You're good. You don't need another one. So when they were introducing this idea to me, I was like, okay, like, I mean, I have kind of been wanting the 360, like, it looks like a cool system, and like my PS2 and my Xbox and stuff, they're getting kind of old, and I have some systems that I can sell and I can, use the money to get that. And my parents were like, yeah, if that's what you want to do, like if that's something you'd like to get, like, sure. So I remember I ended up selling my GameCube because I just wasn't using it. I sold my Game Boy Advance because, again, I just wasn't using it. Those are the only two systems I owned. Not owned, the only two systems that I had sold at that point to get rid of. But I remember with the 360 itself, this was, again, a big thing for me as well, too. It was the first console I ever bought with my own money. And that was a big feat at that point because I'm going to sound like a little bit of an old man here. And like, I'm old enough, I'm in my unk status now. But I'm sure most people who are around my age or older remember growing up, you didn't have income. Your income was birthday and Christmas. And if you didn't celebrate Christmas, whatever equivalent holiday was around there. Whether it was Hanukkah, whether it was Eid, whatever it was. Um, like that's what it would be, So you really only had two opportunities the entire year to get a little bit of income. And it usually wasn't all too much there. So you really had to save, and you really had to, I don't even know how money would happen sometimes. This is for people who, they didn't have an allowance. My allowance was like fluctuating at times. Like sometimes I would get it, sometimes I didn't. And then I didn't really want to like bug my parents about it. It's just kind of one of those things. So I don't know, my own issue there. But I say this, I'm kind of on like the unk status of this because it's like, I've seen younger people now, like teenagers and such, where I'm just like, how, y'all have disposable income. That's cool, but like how? Like, I don't know, maybe someone can explain that to me. It just seems like the era of only getting income twice a year is really rare with people growing up now. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's my own observations on there. I don't know. But I ended up selling those two systems. I sold both of them to friends at school. One of them I still talk to, by the way. And then I ended up having all the money I needed for an Xbox 360. And specifically, I wanted to get, because I had planned this out and everything, I wanted to get the Elite model. I'll even show you all. It's not this exact one. I don't have that one anymore. And this is not the exact one here. Yeah. It was something like this. Not this part here. This one is demon modded. But no, it was one of these, like this black system. It was the Zephyr model because this was 2007. So I ended up grabbing one of these here. It was $480. That was the price at which it launched there, which is then kind of annoying because like later on that summer, before the summer was over, it ended up dropping to $400. But yeah, it was $480. I also ended up getting the 2-year Walmart extended warranty. Because the thing that you had to know about the 360 at that point was as soon as you buy one, it was dead on arrival. Like, the red ring was just a thing you dealt with. That's another thing, too. Like, this is something that, like, people growing up now with current systems, if you grew up with the Xbox One, the PS4, or even if you're growing up with the Series system, like the PS5 and the Series and the Switch 2, you don't know what this is. We had to plan around the death of the Xbox 360 when buying one. So the idea back then, because I had been going to this Walmart, it was my local Walmart, and I had become friends with like everybody in the electronics section. They knew me because I was waiting for the Elite model. I didn't want the Core model. I don't even know they were selling them at that point. I didn't want the Pro model either. I wanted the Elite model. And they just were not getting them. And they said, dude, we're sorry. We cannot hold one for you. We know you want one. Like, we know you by name and everything. You just have to keep calling. And I was like, y'all aren't going to get annoyed. And they said, no, don't worry about it. Just keep calling. We're going to know it's you. And like, we will tell you. We will tell you when we have one. But if we don't have one, we don't have one. So that's what was going on. So it was just, that was one of the hardest times. That was one of the hardest wait times of what I would say. There's been many other struggles since then, but like as a kid, with, not too much bad stuff going on in life, that was such a struggle where you're just sitting there and you have all the money and you're just waiting. And you can't buy the thing because you simply can't buy the thing. That's it. It even got to the point my dad even like trading me. Essentially, we did like, because he knew I had the money and he's like, hey, dude, how about this? Do you want me to just like, because he was gonna buy it, like he was gonna put on his credit card, but he was like, how about this? How about you give me the cash, and when we get it, I will buy it for you. But you just don't have to worry about that. So we even end up doing like a little thing too, where it's like I even wrote down on a piece of paper, like, like this is how much I gave my dad. Like this is, it was pretty much just like a trade for that, right? It was just like, this was the value on this piece of paper, like a certificate. And this would be a guarantee that dad was going to buy me the Xbox 360 Elite with a 2-year warranty on it once I got it. So I think I think I even paid the tax on that too. I think I paid for everything on that to my recollection. But yeah, that's what ended up happening. But point is, I say I was friends with the Walmart people because they were the ones who gave me the lowdown on it. They said, look, this is like, you already know about the red ring and stuff. So what you can do is you get the 2-year warranty on it. That way you get the 12-month warranty with Microsoft. And then after the 12 months, you get another 24 months with Walmart. So that point, at any point after that first year, between years 1 and 3, if your system dies, you just bring the system back here and we'll swap you out for another one. And I'm like, that is a fantastic deal. And it was like, the price was good as well too. And I'm one of those people, I don't buy extended warranties for things. I think that's the only thing I've ever bought an extended warranty on. The only, actually funny enough, because I was going to maybe talk about this at one point, this is the only other thing I can think of that I had an extended warranty on. And I didn't even pay for it. This is a PSP Go. I bought this from GameStop for $50. Yes, they were getting rid of them for that cheap. They couldn't get rid of the things. You couldn't even give them away almost. And it wasn't even that cheap at that point. The lowest I ever saw them sell them for was $40. But I ended up getting this for $50. And because they were doing some kind of promo deal as well too, if you bought one of the systems during a specific timeline during their holiday season, you got a 12-month warranty on it for free. And I was like, okay, like, cool, thanks, I appreciate it. So those have been the 2 systems I've ever gotten extended warranties on, and I only paid for one of them, which was a 360. So I remember there was one point where we almost got one because we were going to go to like another town to get one, right? Because Walmart even told me, they said, call around to like some of the other locations, they might have them. And I remember I called up one of them, and it was like a Sunday night, right? It was a Sunday evening. I called them up, and I asked, do you all have the Xbox 360 Elite in stock? And they're like, yeah, we have them. And I'm like, wait, you all have the Elite? And they said, yeah, dude, we have them. And I'm like, the Elite model, you have it. The Elite. They're like, yeah, we have it. And I'm just there, I'm like, I don't believe them. That's pretty much how I was feeling at that point. And I wasn't trying to be a pessimist about it, but you could just tell with the person I was talking to on the phone, they were probably just like busy, and they're like, yeah, we have Xbox. Yeah, we have Xbox. We have Xbox. That's probably how it was. So I remember like I called them, and I really didn't believe, but I remember I told my dad about it, and my dad was like, okay, if they have it, do you want to go get it? And I'm like, but Dad, that's like another town over. Like, we could really gotta drive. He's like, you've been wanting it. Like, if they have it, do you want to go get it? And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they actually have it or not. And my dad was like, look, if they have it, we can go get it. That's fine. But maybe just like make sure that it's the one you want, because you want like a specific one, right? And I'm like, yes. So then I end up calling back because we were about to go. Like, my dad, I was like, props to my dad, but like, we were about to go. We were going to travel out, go get an Xbox, and bring it back. And he was going to do that. And that's, that now as an adult looking back at that, like, I want to just hug my dad, for doing that. But we did not do that, because what happened was, before we left, I said, I'm going to call them again, because I had a weird feeling about it. I ended up calling them, and I asked them, like, hey, do you have the 360 Elite? And they're like, oh yeah, we have Xboxes. I was like, no, do you have the Xbox 360 Elite? And they're like, well, what is that? I said, it's the black model. Do you, like, the specific model, do you have it? And they looked, they said, no, we don't have the Elite model. We have we have like the Pro one. We have the white one here, but we don't have that Elite one. So I was like, okay, thanks. So I told my dad, I said, hey Dad, we don't have to go anywhere. They don't have it. He's like, well, it's a good thing you called. So it was like shortly after that. I don't remember how long it was, but shortly after then, there was one day I ended up calling my local Walmart again. And I asked, and they said, And it was this woman that I talked to so many times. She's like, "Yep, we have the Elite model." And I'm like, "What? What? You have it? You have the Elite?" She's like, "Yes, we have the Elite model." I'm like, "It is the Elite, right?" She's like, "Yes, yeah, dude, I know you. It is the Elite model. Yes, we have them. We have like 4 of them right here. Just like we can't hold them for you, but we got them." And that's when I remember I was so excited. I got off the phone. I went to my dad. I'm like, "Dad, they got it. They got it." He's like, "Wait, they have it?" I'm like, "They have it. We have to go right now. We have to go." So he drives me to Walmart. I end up he ends up dropping me off at Walmart, and he went to pick the car, like to park the car, and I ran to the back of electronics, and I remember I saw them there, and they were beautiful. There was like 4 Elite 360. Actually, I think there was 3, because I think they got 4 of them, but they only had 3 left in stock. And when I was there was a dude who was buying one of them. So I'm just standing there, and I'm like, I gotta get one. I gotta get one. I just need one. I gotta get one. Um, and I think I was letting my worry really show on my face, because I remember my dad, he comes through, he's got the cart, he's looking at me, and I think I kind of just gave him a look like kind of like that. And I was just kind of worried, because he told me later on that when he saw me, he thought that there was no Xboxes left. So he was about to kind of like, brace to like, be like, "Hey, it's okay, it's cool." But no, he comes over and he's like, "Do they have it?" I'm like, "Dad, it's right there. They have it." He's like, "Okay, well, go get it." So we end up getting it. We got the 2-year warranty, and then I came home, and I remember the first game I got. It would have been great to bring it, but I don't want to run downstairs to get it. I ended up having a Quake 4 that also had, because I paid like $15 for it or something. I had Quake 4. It came with Quake 2 on the bonus disc, which was really awesome. Not like a great game, but it was an affordable game that I could get, right? And I had a couple of the Burger King games. I had Big Bump. No, I didn't have Big Bump, and I got that later. I had Pocket Bite Racer, and I got Sneak King. I think those were the only games that I had right there. So I ended up playing through Quake 4 within like 3 days. When I finished it, I was like, there has to be more to it. So that's when I ended up hopping onto Xbox Live. And that is where Mr. Mario 2011 was born. Because I already had the Mario nickname. I'm not going to get into that with this video, at least here. But I remember my first profile, my first account name on the 360 was just Mario. So when I got online, of course, that was taken. So I put Mr. Mario in there, and that was also taken. So then I'm like, crap, I have to refer to I have to use numbers now. I didn't want to put my birth year, because like everybody was doing that, but I'm like, well, my graduation year is supposed to be 2011. I see people do that sometimes. Let me put it in there. And I punched it in, and it worked, and that's how this username, Mr. Mario 2011, that is how that was all born. It was all born from the 360 right here. That was the first time that username ever got used. So there's a little bit of history for you all. So I'll share with you all now the reasons why I end up getting the Xbox 360, which you all can probably see a few of the reasons, actually. One of them is one of the greatest games ever made, Halo 3. If people are wondering why they can barely see this one, this is actually the game version that came with the Legendary Edition. Because I was like, look, I was so hyped for Halo 3, and I'm like, look, I gotta get Halo 3. If I'm getting this, I gotta go all in. Because we legitimately believed at the time. The belief was that this was the last Halo game that was coming out. And if you've played Halo 3, and if you haven't, come on, what are you doing? But if you've played Halo 3, you know that, like, it ends. Like, the story, like, really feels like it ends right there. And it ends quite beautifully and quite nicely. Like, it was really well done there. I know people... I'm going to piss off people, but I'm going to say this because I've been saying it for years here. I know a lot of people really hate Halo 4. I'm one of the 4 people in the world who loves Halo 4. Like, I really liked what they were doing with the story, which I know is sacrilegious. I know even some of the stuff, for example, a lot of people were upset that Cortana died. Here's the thing. One of my best friends, who is a huge Halo nerd, he has read through the lore, he's read all the books, he's consumed all the media available. He was next to me one time when we were playing co-op, and he was picking up on what was happening before it was revealed in the game. So, for example, he was like, wait a minute, it's been 7 years, rampancy, right? And then they reveal that Cortana is gonna die. If people are upset about spoilers, dude, the game came out in 2012, okay? It's 2025 now, you've had enough time to play it. Plus, that was in the first, 2 levels of the game. But what I'm saying is, he appreciated how they took the lore and they stuck with it, but then they started changing it, they started adding some other things there, but they didn't just erase it fully. what they did was they did that with Halo 5 because Halo 5 was essentially a giant retcon where they were having a knee-jerk reaction to undo everything they did in Halo 4. And the funny thing is, if you see it, I'm sorry, I have to go on this tangent. If you see it now, if you see people talk about this game now, with how far the Halo franchise has fallen, people are now looking back at Halo 4 and they're like, this game's incredible. Like, it looks good. The story they were building was amazing. The world building was awesome. Like, 343 had something amazing here. Why did they scrap it? Well, they scrapped it because they were listening to people. That's what happened. They were so upset. Like people were just so upset because it was because it was Bungie. Like, hold on. Compose. People were upset because it was not Bungie developing the game. So they were looking for any reason to hate on these games. People were hating on Halo Anniversary. People were hating on Halo 4. And then Halo 5 just retconned everything from Halo 4. So when there's people that are just like, wow, this was amazing. They were doing all this stuff with Halo 4. Why didn't they stick with it? It's because they listened to the public. That's what happened. It was people were so loud and so vocal and they complained about it. And 343 Industries just had a knee-jerk reaction. That's what I have to say. I know that's going to piss off people, but like, that's what happened, man. That was one reason why I ended up getting the Xbox 360. The other one was Grand Theft Auto 4. Not this exact one here. I actually ended up getting like, even this one, I got like the big collector's edition and stuff that had like the safe and all that. Not the safe, the little lockbox and all that as well too. Because this is the one that has, y'all can see here, it's got 2 discs. So this one's GTA 4. This one is the 2 expansions. I'm going to be so honest with you all. I've never finished the expansions. I played a little bit of the Lost and Damned. I never played through Baldur's Gate Tony. I need to just go through all these at one point. Like, I need to go through the GTA 4 trilogy. I've only played the game start to finish one time. I really liked it, but I also think now as an adult, I could appreciate it at a different level, more than as a teenager. Because as a teenager, it was odd, because it was like, I remember I even wrote a review about it as well, too. It's long gone, but like I wrote a review and I gave it a really high score because I'm like, factually, there's not that much bad about the game, but like, it's just not as fun to play as the original ones. Like, not the originals, but like the 3D era, like 3, Vice City, San Andreas, and I just couldn't get that. And I had that feeling back with Grand Theft Auto 5. But now everybody is so, how do I put it? They're so... 5 has just been around for too long. That's the thing. People are just jaded by Grand Theft Auto 5. Grand Theft Auto 6 is long overdue. And we're probably going to get another delay or two because it's funny. I've talked with my girlfriend about it, who she likes her games, but she's not like as big into games as I am. And I've told her, it's like, the thing is with Grand Theft Auto games, they're either the best thing ever made when they come out, like 3, Vice City, San Andreas. Like, to many people, when those games came out, they were like the best thing ever. They were amazing games, technical masterpieces, really paved the way for so much more. So it's either like the best thing ever or it's okay. Like, there's no in between. And the problem is, we've waited so long for Grand Theft Auto 6 that Rockstar knows it cannot be anything less than the greatest thing ever made. So it has an impossibly high bar that I feel like Rockstar is one of the few developers, if maybe the only developer, who can actually hit that bar. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe we'll be playing it on our PS7s. Who knows? But yeah, these 2 games, these were the reasons why I ended up getting my 360. I know some people tried to say before this, like back then, like one of my friends like, okay, so you're telling me if Halo 3 never came out, you would have never gotten a 360. I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I would have gotten it later. But in 2007, I was preparing for it because Halo 3 was going to come out. It was going to be an exclusive. I really wanted to jump in. I wanted to play that. I wanted to experience it. And then with Grand Theft Auto 4, I ended up getting it on 360. 1, because I could play both these games on one system. But 2, 360 was so big that the expansions were actually exclusive to the console. That was a really big selling point. And then it was later on revealed they end up reneging on that because they changed it. They ended up saying later on, they're like, actually, it was a timed exclusive, so now it's coming out to PC and PS3, and it should have, right? Like, it should have. But, you know, back in the day, like, us being teenagers and fanboys and all that stuff, of course we were upset about it. Now, looking back, I'm like, no, it should have come out on all those systems. Like, that's fine. I think the only annoying thing was that they said it was... Because all this stuff with timed exclusivity and all that, it wasn't a thing. It wasn't relevant in 2007, 2008. So what I'm saying is, when they said they were exclusive to 360, what we heard was they're exclusive to 360, as in you cannot get them anywhere else, ever, until the history of space and time. Like, That's how it was back then. Another game I want to say, this is not why I got the system, but I remember I was seeing hype around it, and I ended up downloading the demo for it. Played it on my mom's computer, could barely run, but even then I was like, this is incredible. Was this game here, Call of Duty 4? This is still, to date, my all-time favorite multiplayer game. This game is absolutely wonderful. Love this game. I own it on every single platform. I can still go back to it, still have fun with it. I even have like a crappy case it was into, because you can see, this is, if you can see, this is not like an original 360 case. This is a 360 like case, and this is from the game shop I used to work at back then. Yeah, that's a whole other thing as well too. But yeah, I'm happy I kept this case, just kind of as that memory there. But I bought and sold this game many times, but the last time I bought it was the last time I bought it. So this one's great. This one's done a lot for me, because not only I end up having like my first like clan and my first like really tight group of online friends on there, but there's still people from there that I still talk to regularly. I still consider best friends. Like, one of the people, so like the main person I met through there, I ended up becoming friends with his friend group who he knew offline. I ended up flying to Canada like multiple times. I ended up meeting these people. I got to hang out with them. I got to spend time with them. It was great. And it wasn't for the video game stuff. The video games connected us, but we just wanted to meet up because we were friends. Like that's what it was. So we had a really good time with all that. Even like probably the dude I was closest with, and I'd still say I am, even his brother ended up getting married, and he invited me to his wedding and all that as well too. So that was the last time I went. I ended up going for his wedding. So this created some amazing memories and experiences that I can never forget. Like this, because of this game, this resulted in me traveling internationally by myself for the first time ever. Like, that was real cool. I guess, before I get in this, I can talk about, some of the games, because I'm going through this little stack of games, so let me go through this. Some of the other stuff I was just kind of like pulling off my shelf. This was such a surprise to pick up and play. I remember it was after Christmas one year. I want to say it was Christmas 2008. End up getting this game here, Prey. Just because, I had that Christmas money, I was wanting to spend it, and GameStop was having a sale, and this is like $8. It looked interesting. It was from 3D Realms. I'm like, okay, cool. This shocked me with how good it was. I ended up loving this game, and if you have played this here, if you play through it, you get to the credits. Take Me Home by, I think, After Midnight Project. Fantastic song. Like, I was saying for a while, it was worth finishing the game just to hear the credit song on there, and that specific one, like, please, like, look it up, listen to it, because it is on streaming, but the specific mix that was in Prey, in my opinion, is much better than the mix that we end up getting, like, officially released on streaming services. This game I actually end up playing, like, recently, like, this year, funny enough, I end up finishing here. Ninja Gaiden 2, admittedly, I end up playing this with a trainer, right? But I end up playing this game, like, for the first time. I think I borrowed it from work, actually. I borrowed it from the game shop I was working at. I played through like the first level or two. It was difficult. Now, I ended up playing through this because, re-release, and I was like, let me actually go back and finish it, because I got to almost the end of the game. People really love Ninja Gaiden 2 on 360. And I know it's been like remastered and re-released on so many other systems, but one thing about this is that I don't want to sound like a purist, but this is like the way to play Ninja Gaiden 2, because Ninja Gaiden 2 was designed for the 360. You have Xbox 360 references in there. You have advertisements for the 360 in there. But not just that, it's that the way the game was designed, okay, I'm not a Soulsborne person. Like, I'm talking about like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, games like that. I'm not one of those people who really plays those games. I don't like to get frustrated when playing games. But this game here, it made me laugh at times at how difficult it was, because those games, the Souls type games, they're difficult, but from what I understand, they are difficult, but it's just, it's finding a pattern and then it's sticking to that pattern, right? You have to recognize it, you have to practice, and you have to stick to it. And then when you finally are able to use your wit and your skill to then get past whatever difficult thing there is, feels great. I get that as a gamer. I understand. No. This game here is hard and difficult just for the sake of being hard and difficult. But this is the hardest one. Because when it ended up getting ported to PS3, from what I understand, because of the technical limitations there, and maybe someone can do a little better job explaining it, but from what I understand, the 360 ended up having 512 megabytes of unified RAM. The PS3 also had 512 megabytes of RAM, but it was split. So 256 megabytes was for like the system functions and such, and 256 was dedicated to games, and they couldn't really cross with each other. So because of that, they essentially had to like cut the enemy count here in half when they ported it to PS3. And that ended up making the game easier. And then every single remake and remaster of this game has been based on the work done on the PS3. So if you play it right now on PS5, that version of the game is technically easier than the 360 version right here. So if you really want to feel punished, play this version right here. Dead Rising, this was also a big one. Not only it's a great zombie game, it still looks great, it still holds up really well. Another thing too, title updates, right? Title updates were actually small on the Xbox 360. Like, if you put in a game now, you get one of these games, you put it in, you're probably going to download like a 5 megabyte update, a 10 megabyte update at most. Do you know how nice that is? Compared to like now normal updates are like the size of games. There's games coming out where it's like an update comes out and it's 8 gigabytes. And I'm like, dude, that's like the size of a 360 game alone. So much stuff with modern gaming annoys me. That's also why I stick to this system. That's why I like my older systems so much. Because I'm so jaded. I'm so annoyed by so many aspects of modern gaming. That's a whole other topic we're going to talk about. Maybe in another, I don't know. If you want to hear about it, let me know, okay? But no, Dead Rising was great. It looked great. It played well. The reason why I brought up tile updates is because still to this day, this game has never had a patch. This game has never had tile update. And this even has a little bit of something that I really appreciate from Capcom. You see right here, there is that little warning right there. That's not really a warning, like a content warning, right? It is saying, though, it is Capcom covering their ass and saying, this game was not developed, approved, or licensed by the owners or creators of George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. Again, not only the game, it plays well, it looks great, but there was never a tile update that went out for this. So it is a complete game right here. There was no patch, no nothing. There are some glitches in there, mind you, but like the game actually shipped complete. The reason why I also highlighted this was because this was during the time when we were transitioning from the standard definition to high definition era, including myself. My first few years playing on the 360, I was actually playing through a composite on a CRT. Real quick, there's been people who like they've gotten, I'm thinking of one dude, he's a friend of mine, but like there's been people who they get CRTs and they get like excited and they will hook up like the 360 like to it, right? And they'll play it in composite and they're like, man, there's something lost about it, you know, like the black levels, they're so dark and rich and like this looks good even in composite. And I'm just there, I'm like, no. As somebody who played the 360 in composite for way too long, no, we're not going back. This system was designed for HD. That's my thought on it, at least. But no, the reason why I say that is because this game right here, it was designed for HD in mind. And it was a huge deal when it came out because there were people who were getting this who were still playing on their CRTs and they were missing out on a major part of the game. If you play this game, at the bottom of the screen, there's a news ticker, kind of similar to if you watch any news channel, you see like a news ticker at the bottom. With CRTs, because they had their overscan and like they kind of cut off the image and it was kind of random between TVs, there were a lot of people who simply could not see that. And there was important information that showed up there too. Like very important information to progress the game forward that showed up. And then there were some people who could see it, but the text was so small they couldn't read it. So I believe Capcom ended up pretty much putting up the finger. They gave their they gave gamers the middle finger, right? Because they essentially came out and they said, hey, look, we understand that there are some people who have TVs who cannot read the text or they're having difficulty with the text. We're not going to be patching the game. If you cannot read the text on the TV, you need to be playing this game in high definition. It is optimized for high definition. It was developed for high definition in mind. If you cannot play on a high definition TV, then maybe you could play on a standard definition TV that's big. But no, we're not going to be fixing this. This is how the game was designed. I kind of there's a part of me that kind of misses that attitude a little bit. So that happened there. When I end up playing this, because I played this on a CRT and I also played in HD. Very nice when I was able to go to HD here. This I had said recently. I only have a few games left to talk about, right? This I had said recently was one of the biggest Trojan horses in gaming and one of my favorite ones. Crackdown. Not only a phenomenal game, but this one... Oh, shit. Okay. It does have it here. Okay. Y'all remember these? 48-hour trials of Xbox Live Gold, back when it was called Xbox Live Gold? But this right here, this is why a lot of people bought it. Check this out. This here shows that you are able to play the Halo 3 beta using Crackdown. Now, this is a really big deal because the hype for Halo 3 was getting pretty big. And so what they ended up doing was they ended up, like the developers and all, and the powers that be here. So I'm just kind of putting this all away. Cool. What ended up happening was this game came out, and if you had this game, you could download and access the Halo 3 beta while it was still live using this game. So there were many people who did rent it, but a lot of people honestly just paid $60 to play the Halo 3 beta. And then, after the Halo 3 beta was over, they ended up selling Crackdown because they didn't need it. So then, you could get Crackdown. Like, I remember this was a cheap game for a long time. You can get used copies of it for like 15, 20 bucks easily after the beta was over. But then there were some people who held on to it, and since the beta was done, they started playing Crackdown, and they're like, oh wow, you know, this like weird Crackdown game, this is actually pretty good. This is pretty fun. It's a series I wish they did more with. There was a sequel that came out, Crackdown 2. It wasn't as good. It was pretty mid. The first Crackdown, fantastic if you've never played it. This is probably the best $60 beta that exists out there. 2 more games. I swear, that's it. 2 more games. So one of these two is this game here, Condemned Criminal Origins, which was so odd because, so real quick, I was an achievement whore on the 360. I ended up loving getting achievements. I kind of got bitten by that bug. So for a while, I was really just playing games for the achievements, which can be good and bad. There was a lot of games that I was kind of more motivated to play. Some of them were bad, but easy achievements. Other ones were great. But this one was odd because typically when a 360 disc release came out, and there were all these games that like did different things and did it in a non-standard way, but the standard for Microsoft was like by default, if you can have 50 achievements and 1,000 gamer score in total, that's what you do. But you might see if you look at like the achievement list for some of those really old games, like the original launch titles, some of them are just like impossible, it feels like. Other ones are just like, really? Like, shooting a basket, you get 200 gamer score? Like, okay, because like developers just didn't really know what to do with them. Achievements were a brand new thing. That's the other thing. The 360 ended up being a landmark for a lot of stuff. I'll get to that later. But this one was weird because it was 970 gamer score. I don't know. I don't know. It was weird. Fantastic game though. Absolutely fantastic game. Still locked to this one never came out on the PS3, so the only console you could play it on is the Xbox 360. Thankfully, it's backwards compatible, so you can play it on Xbox One and Xbox Series. But great game here. Absolutely love this one. This was the first horror game that made me scream. Not just scream. I screamed multiple times playing this game. Fantastic game. Last one here, another console exclusive, actually. I think this was on PS3 and 360. The Darkness also ended up getting this during a sale like Christmas time as well, too. I was really going through some stuff at that time as well. Won't get into that, but like, this game hit me hard. And like, I have played through this game so many times. Absolutely love it. The sequel came out. I didn't think... I thought the gameplay was much better. Storyline I didn't think was as good. But both these games, the sequel I completed 100%. This one I didn't finish 100%, but they're both excellent games, so, in their own ways. I like the first one more, even though there's a jank level to it. So, that was kind of my history with that, right? So, I had a lot of fun playing online. You know, at first when I joined Xbox Live, this was back then too, like, you gotta remember, the 360 did not have wireless internet, so you had to get one of those adapters, but I didn't want to get that one because it was expensive, so I was literally taking the whole damn modem from the house and hooking it up downstairs to play on there. But then, of course, you know, that limits everyone else to internet, so I could only do it at certain times. I ended up going through a few different adapters. You know, I got like a Belkin one, ended up breaking at one point, and now it's funny, I kind of just like hardwire everything when I can, and then I've gotten, you know, these adapters here and there just through like different purchases, trades, things like that, so not as much of a deal now. Plus, if you're working with the Slims there, like by default, they have a Wi-Fi card built in, so a lot less of an issue there. That was pretty nice, but yeah, no, that ended up going down. When it came to all the dashboards as well too, I'm gonna say something that's controversial, and like a lot, here's the thing, a lot of this stuff I'm saying that it's gonna annoy people, it's not me being a contrarian. It's just I was there, and this has been my opinion for a long time. I do, I appreciate the Blades dashboard. It's not the best one. Okay, it's not the best one. People are nostalgic for it. People are fascinated by it, right? But I was there for Blades. I've been there for every single dashboard, right? I was there when Blades went to NXE. I thought NXE was awesome, and NXE only got better and better. And in my opinion, NXE was the best dashboard. Not only like there was some advertising here and there, but it was during a really cool time as well too in Xbox Live history, where like, you know, Netflix parties were actually a thing. The party system actually got introduced there as well too. 1 versus 100 was a free game where like there was a show 1 versus 100, and they made a free Xbox Live game based off it, and it was there in real time and you could play it. Like, the fact that they let that die and they never did anything with it afterwards was really disappointing. There was like, there was prizes and stuff you can get as well too. There was a lot more of a community sense. There's community messages that were in the dashboard, both on Blades and on NXE. But the main beef I have with Blades is that with NXE, it worked really well. It was snappy, it was fast, it was quick. With Blades, there were so many times it slowed down for me. Like, I would bring up the guide, and the guide would just bring up, like, it wasn't just, like, in the middle of the screen, it was, like, on the side. It would come up on the side, and it would just be frozen there. And, like, the game is running, I'm talking to people, whatever it is, but I can't pick anything, and then if I'm in a multiplayer game, I'm dying and stuff, I'm being shot at. And there were just so many times where Blades was just, when you're actually using it, when you were connected online, when you were using it, there were so many times it would just slow down, it would just bog down. There were just options that weren't working on there. That happened so often, and it was so annoying, where I remember that pretty clearly. Aesthetically, it looks cool. The themes you can put on there, the little customizations you can do, that's really cool. Like, I get that. I understand why people like it, but I'm one of those people, I'm like, no, dude, I was there. I had a lot less issues with NXT than I had with Blades. Like, to me, NXE is the best dashboard. And if you want kind of a modern equivalent of it now, or I guess like on a modded system now, because we're going to get to that as well too, I guess Freestyle Dash or Freestyle 3, that is modeled primarily off of NXE. So, you know, we're almost like an hour into this video. I haven't even really talked about modding on here, right? I have not talked about this at all here. But, you know, one thing I do want to share real quick before I really, like, jump into this here was, like, not only there was really, like, formative years and stuff that was happening when I was using the 360, because this is, like, it came out when I was in middle school. I was using it when I was in high school. Even for, like, a few years, I really wasn't into games all too much. That's probably a topic for another video there, I guess. I guess I will say, if I feel like people kind of go through that there. To me, it was just kind of an overexposure. Not only I felt like games were lacking for a few years. This is probably from 2009 to 2011. But I was also working retail at that game shop. And even though it was cool working at a video game store, I loved the work. I loved the coworkers. At the end of the day, it's still a retail shop. I ended up learning I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert, so, like, not only that stuff exhausts me there, I'm social, right? I'm social, I can talk with people, but, like, when I recharge, like, literally, like, I go into my game room, you know, I'm relaxed, I'm watching YouTube videos, I'm playing some games. Within a few hours, I feel like myself again. Like, that's how I recharge my batteries, like, my own personal batteries. So, but interacting with people, being in the public like that, will just drain me. And then I associated that with video games, so because of all that, and because just the game industry being kind of annoying around that time, I just had this almost like disdain for it, right? And here's more the thing that I want to warn people with. I feel like everybody, when they're like a teenager or something, they want to put the stuff down that they like, and maybe they're kind of somewhat interested in, but it's kind of like, yeah, I'm grown up, you know, and I you know, video games are such kiddie things, and look at how much, look at how much I hate these games, right? Like, look at this, look, I have all these things, and I hate them. Like, that's, it is performative in a way. What I'm trying to say is just don't do that. It's very cringe. Nobody really likes being around that person, okay? If you are one of those people who do that, please stop. Cool. Just learn from me in that regard, okay? However, even on that, before I get into the modding aspect of it here, one thing that's funny, and I've told this story before, is funny enough, I actually got hired for my first job through the Xbox 360. It seems silly, but my like I said, my first like actual job was working at that game shop. I ended up going there the first time the first time I was just browsing. The second time I ended up buying a few things, and I talked to the manager there, who ended up being like an older brother to me. And he ended up giving me his gamer tag. We added each other, and we would like message each other on there because later on we exchanged phone numbers. But for a bit, I also just didn't have texting on my phone. I was like the last person I knew to get texting on my phone. Yeah, this is a whole different thing because now phone services just throw that stuff at you. At this point, people don't even text anymore. Everybody uses apps, so you don't even really need texting like that on your phone. You know what I mean? Like SMS, MMS. That there's less of a need for that. What I'm saying here though is that I remember I was, looking for a job, trying to get something. And then I remember I talked to my manager about it. And he said, yeah, I'll talk to the boss about it. Because it was him and one other person. They were working there. The other dude ended up getting fired. But summer was coming up. I was going to be 16. I was looking for a job. And when I talked to him about it, I ended up getting a message on Xbox Live within a day or two from him, and I really wish I took a photo of it or something, but he essentially said, hey, so I talked to the boss about it, and he said, as soon as you're done with school this semester, you're hired. So I got hired over Xbox Live. That's how I got the news of that. That was so cool. I don't know how I can really prove or cite that, but like that was something that happened there. All right, so we're going to talk about the modding thing, right? Because I will say this here, the Xbox 360 was also responsible for ruining my sleep schedule in college. That was my fault. Okay, let's take some accountability there, mind you, but no, that is what happened there. So I was cognizant of modding, right? I already had the modded original Xbox. I knew about that. When it came to the 360, there were a couple of mods that I knew of, like USB modding and such, that came about with NXE, because NXE actually introduced being able to use a USB drive as a way to, save your profile and do things like that. And then, people figured out ways where you could access the files on that USB drive, so you no longer needed just a transfer kit. Transfer kit, if you didn't know, it allowed you to, here we go. This was the hard drive enclosure for the fat models of the Xbox 360, and the transfer kit essentially just hooked up right here, and then the other end was USB, and you could hook that up to another Xbox, and the idea was you could transfer from a smaller hard drive to a bigger hard drive. But of course, people end up finding ways to get that working on PC, so you could actually access the files directly on your hard drive here, so without ripping this apart. So that's what happened there. But when it came to the USB drive options on there, the first mod I ended up ever doing was I ended up hacking up my game save on, what was it? Final Fantasy 13. That was it. One of my, not a coworker actually. Well, he ended up being a coworker later, but this one guy, he said coworker here. He said he was playing Final Fantasy 13. He liked it, and it was really easy for him because he was just playing through it with a trainer. So he told me he modded his save, and I was interested in doing that. So I remember I was so nervous doing it, and props to him. He ended up walking me through it, but I downloaded it, and I remember I called him up, and I'm like, hey, so how do I do this? And he said, okay, you do this. Okay, don't change this option here unless you want to do this here, and then you have to save this. And I was like, well, it's not working. It didn't work on my system. He said, you have to re-sign it as well, too. So I re-signed the save. It worked. That's a save I ended up using to finish the game, but that was just on a completely stock system. The other thing I knew about was also flash DVD drives. I was at least cognizant enough of it there because I was seeing these it was funny. I was seeing these pirated 360 games online, but it was comical at the time because you got to realize I was working with a laptop that had a 40 gig hard drive, and I'm just there my teenage brain. I'm like, how are people able to download 7 gigabyte games? I have 40 gigs on my entire drive allocated to me. How are people downloading 7 gigabyte games? that was just so mind-blowing to me there. But no, when I looked into it, I saw that you could reflash the DVD drive. Now that ended up involving taking this thing here, taking the DVD drive itself out, hooking it up to a computer, and then you have to go through a process where you have to dump the system, the firmware off the drive. You also have to get the DVD key because the key on the drive is married to the motherboard itself of the console. So you take that key, you inject it into a custom firmware, which allows you to play burned games, and then you reflash to the drive, and that way you're able to play your burned games. There were a lot of iterations of it. I got into it around the light touch era because I got my first flash system in 2011. So I didn't really do the whole cat and mouse game of like all the different firmwares and then going from extreme to iExtreme to well, that was essentially deprecated because iExtreme. So real quick on that, from what I know, the extreme firmware was from Commodore Forever or C Forever, but it wasn't really live safe. And then in order to make it live safe, they end up making iExtreme, which was Invisible Extreme. It was invisible until it was not. All versions of iExtreme are detectable online. I swear I even saw someone like this back in the day. They did a test with it. They had like 2 or 3 consoles right there. One of them was flashed and they never played a game on it. They just connected to Xbox Live and within a few days it was banned just for having the custom firmware on the drive. So then that's when it got retooled into light touch, where they were trying to add additional features to the firmware that you could make use of, but they essentially just said, hey, look, this firmware is just, it's just going to operate like a standard firmware. The only thing, like, there's going to be, you know, extra security and stuff in there, but the only thing that we're really going to be adding in for the most part is just the ability to play burned games. But we're not going to put in any other protections. Like, you gotta, you know, patch the games yourself. You gotta be responsible for this. Like, this is on you. But there were some other protections in there. Like, I think, what was it? I think that there was some, like, it might have been early light touch. I don't quite remember. But essentially, when there was like higher tiers of anti-piracy, like anti-piracy 2.5 came out, you would have to update your discs themselves. You'd have to reburn them with the latest challenge tables, or latest response tables, I should say, every time a new dashboard update came out. And if yours didn't match, there was actually a few firmwares where if you put the disk drive in, if you put the disk in, is what I'm saying, the game just wouldn't load. It would just be a black screen. That was it. And if it was a black screen, you had to take it out within like 5 minutes. And it was a nice preventive measure, but then light touch came out, or like the later ones, and they took all that stuff away. It was just like, hey, look, the onus is on you, the user. You got to be responsible for patching your stuff properly, which is fine. I think that's a better way of doing it. But I know I'm kind of all over the place here. Get into this though. So I did that mod. I knew people who had modded systems. It was really like the appeal was there at the time because especially like I knew people, they were getting games early. Actually, one of the biggest ban waves, it was from the iExtreme 1.6 firmware. Not only it was detectable, but it was around 2009. And if you've ever heard legends of the 2009 or the 09 ban wave, it was because there were some big games coming out. One of the biggest ones was Modern Warfare 2. So Modern Warfare 2 ended up leaking early, as did many other games there, but there were a lot of people, obviously the people who got it early, who getting it 2-3 weeks early, whatever it is, most of them, almost all of them were playing on like pirated copies of the game. But then the problem was they were taking these online as well too. So that's when Microsoft was just like, no, we just got to shut this down completely. So really, virtually anybody who had a flash DVD drive with a system that ended up touching Xbox Live had gotten that system banned. Like, they were not messing around. That's how big Modern Warfare 2 was. Again, this is a topic for another video here. I'm not going to get into it here. But even as big as gaming is today, with how modern, like not modern, but how mainstream it is, I've had this discussion with friends multiple times. I attribute it to Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2 in 2009, because the success of that game and because of the hype that was surrounding it and was building and swelling to it, and then just how successful and how all over the place it was, that was pretty much when gaming ended up being mainstream, when it was like the first time where it kind of felt like it's like, okay, gaming is not just this nerdy thing. And it took several years. Like, it's not like it was an overnight thing. But that was the first moment that I observed, at least, where it was like, okay, we're going to start really crossing into the mainstream. And it was also because, I mean, they spent so much money on developing the game, marketing the game, and it made so much back within 24 hours. Like, it was unreal. So money talks, follow the money, all those things there, but like money really talked with Modern Warfare 2. Don't worry, we're actually going to talk about the modding thing here. Again, I knew about the flash DVD drives, and this was near the end of me working at this game shop. It was like that last summer I was there, and one of my friends, who he's actually like still one of my best friends to this day, I talk to him, I need to respond to him, by the way. I talk to him like nearly every day, but he was a coworker of mine there. And he had known about modding and all that stuff, and he was getting a lot of systems that were broken. He would, you know, heat gun them. He would do the bolt mod fix on them, which don't do that, by the way. It's been well documented why that's so bad now. Just don't do that at all. But he was getting cheap systems, and I remember he said one of the most like gangster things at the time. I thought he was like, yeah, no, he told me he was getting all these cheap systems. They were all modified, and he's like, yeah, I think at this point, like my roommate and I, we have like an Xbox in every room of the house, and like that was the most gangster thing to me. I definitely got to that point. I didn't have one in every room of the house, but if I want to, I can populate one in every single room here. And I've definitely exceeded that as well too. I can certainly say that. You all know, and some people watching might be these kinds of people. You get your first 360, it's great. And then once you get your second one, and I'm not saying you sell one and you get another one. No, I'm saying like you have like two of them on deck right here, right? Like this. Once you get your second one, they kind of just start to grow and multiply. You know, it's like a bug that you end up getting, and it just keeps evolving. But what happened there was he ended up having this 360. It was a clear system. It had like, it was like an XCM case, whisper fans, which didn't really whisper. They were super loud. Also like a see-through disk drive as well too. And it was flashed as well. So he was offering to sell it to me. It was a Xenon model. It also had the red ring fix on it. But he offered to sell it to me for $100. So I ended up, I said, you know what? I've been wanting a modded system. I'm just going to keep this one offline because, by the way, I still maintain this with most of my systems here, but I'm very much old school in the thought of, if you want a modded system and you still want to be online, you do two systems. You have one system that is online, untouched with mods. It stays up to date. You play legit on there. You got your legit games, all that stuff. And then you have a second system, which is offline. That way you could also keep on an outdated firmware if something relies on an outdated firmware. And you could have all your fun. You could do whatever you want to. You can run all your mods and do everything on that offline system. And you just don't intersperse the two. That is how I managed, a lot of the time. And also it's just like, hey, if it's modded, don't go online. So with this thing now where it's like, hey, if you mod your system, you can go online and you can play and you can get your achievements and trophies and you can do whatever you want to, and you can really just, you can even like mod in public lobbies and stuff too. That was not a thing for a long time. That is like a whole new school kind of expectation, but I come from still like that old school mentality of modding. But on this here, I ended up getting the system from him. He ended up answering a lot of my stupid questions I had over like patching and all that stuff. So I really got like the patching process down. I took that really seriously. And so I ended up teaching myself how to like back up my own games, how to rip the ISOs over to my computer, how to patch them up, how to burn them. It was a whole ordeal, but like I learned how to do it. And like that is the side that I love with gaming, right? Like, I'm more of a technical person like that. I love my games, don't get me wrong, but like, I just love that technical nerdiness, I guess you can say. So that is what I was doing for a while. Like I was having fun with that, but the thing is, you kind of end up hitting a ceiling pretty quickly there, because if you have a flash DVD drive, even your mods, like I didn't even know for a long time you could have a modded ISO, but even the modded ISO files that you can create and such, are pretty limited for the most part. There's more stuff you can do now, but now it's even like there's not much of a point of actually limiting yourself to modding an ISO and playing off of that burn disk, because you can so easily take away so many more security features and protections with different mods that we have now. I'm going to get to that later in the video, but when it came to the flash drive, I guess, fiasco scenario, whatever it is, I ended up hitting that pretty quickly, because it's like, okay, I can play games. What else can I do? Then I started learning about actually reflashing the DVD drives, and this is where I started losing my sleep. And this is kind of where the start on here ended up happening, like with this channel. I had a Hitachi DVD drive, and I remember that like at this point I'd had a few systems, right? I still had my Elite system that I had paid for. It red ringed one time, and there was a whole thing of, you know, like Microsoft, they ended up they pretty much canceled out my Walmart warranty. So I'm a little salty that I wasted a little bit of money on there, but also not really, because I didn't have like foresight. We didn't know. They extended their warranty out to 3 years. So when I contacted Walmart, they were like, oh yeah, no, the Xbox has a 3-year warranty. And I'm like, okay, but can I like append that to mine? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, so I just can't use this extended warranty to replace it. But the point being on there was that I'd already had, I think at this point I had like 3 systems. I had this modded one, and then I had just like a standard, like a white one, that I ended up getting through work for pretty cheap, because the disk drive was a little wonky there just with like ejecting it, so I was able to buy it as like a broken system, even though it worked pretty well. But I wanted to learn how to actually flash these DVD drives. And this is where I started getting annoyed, because I was looking into it, right? Because it's annoying because you can't just like take the drive and hook it up and have it run like an actual DVD drive on your computer. Like, no, it's completely different firmware, completely different set of instructions there. So what happened was I was looking into it. I didn't know how to get it connected. I then ended up learning how to connect it. You essentially had to, the way I did it, I was trying to do it for cheap. I was just, kind of scraping by and all that stuff too. I'm not even going to get into this. I also started getting into like repair of them as well too. I was doing the bolt mod, not good. I was doing some other fixes. They weren't like the best fixes, but I was like trying to learn about this because for a while, and even now they are, but for a while, 360s were super cheap if you could find them broken. They were just super cheap. But what happened with this was when I was getting into the drive flashing, I was learning about it, and it was like, y'all know how it goes if you're there back in the day. It's like you're on like iExtreme.net or like the Team Executor site, and you can't even, like, some of these sites you couldn't even like make an account on there because it had to be approved, and then like it took forever to get approved at times. Then there's different people having different issues with different things, but then people might ask what exactly you are trying to ask, and they end up getting flamed, and they're told, hey, it's in the thread. You need to search. You need to look at this. It's already been answered in the thread. And it's like, dude, the thread is 100 pages long. So it's just, there's so much annoyance there, right? Just, it annoyed me quite a bit, and I wasn't really much of a forum. I was more of a forum lurker for the 360 stuff. I'd used forums for years, but for 360 stuff, I really wasn't on the forums like that. I wasn't contributing. So the thing that got me was essentially I had looked into like shipping my console off to get the flash on there updated, but I was like, well, I have several systems here, and if I'm sending these off and there's routine updates, because for a while there was like pretty routine updates to flash drives, and then that slowed down by the end. But I'm like, look, if I'm going to do this, it's going to rack up real quick, so I kind of need to learn how to do this myself. It took me 3 nights to figure out how to do it. And the main issue I ran into, which it was like one post on one place ended up having this, they said that you had to hook up the drive, because I would hook up everything. I had test mode enabled. I had, the firmware. I had Jungle Flasher. I had everything up and running, but I could not get it to detect my drive, like hooked up directly to my computer's motherboard. Then one person somewhere ended up saying they hooked it up to their master SATA port on their motherboard, which ends up being SATA 0. And if you ever look at like a SATA cluster on a motherboard, you'll see there's like SATA 0, 1, 2, 3. So when I did that, I said, let me give this a try. I ended up hooking up the drive to SATA 0. I hooked up the hard drive that was the boot drive to another SATA port, probably like SATA 1. Turn on the computer. I think I got into safe mode. Was that it? I'm pretty sure I was using safe mode. I opened up Jungle Flasher, and it actually detected the drive. So in my videos, and my first videos about DVD drive flashing and backing up and all that stuff as well too, they were not edited. They were really rough, and it was literally just me. Like, I would pick up, pretend this phone, right? I had a camcorder, but pretend like the phone is a camcorder. I would literally just pick up the camcorder, and I would start talking, and I was just, recording the process like this, and I would record my screen, and I would record, the Xbox, and I would record like what's happening on the screen, and then I'd record like this here, and then when one part's done, I just hit done. And then I had that video file, and I was uploading those on YouTube, and those were like those were the first big tutorials that I ended up putting up on the channel. They weren't great, right? They weren't great at all. The quality was not there. But the thing I was being told consistently was that, holy crap, dude, thank you. Because, like, you're actually explaining everything bit by bit on here. Like, you're explaining the speeds to burn your games. You're explaining, like, the nitty-gritty of, like, actually swapping the discs and all that stuff. Even with flashing, like, when I followed your tutorial, it worked. Nothing else worked, but yours did. And one of the attributes was because I said you need to hook this up to your SATA 0 port on your motherboard and hook up the drive to any other port on there, and it should detect. And it did for many people. Now that's like the worst way of doing it, because like modern motherboards, it's not they don't have SATA, it's that it just, Jungle Flasher just doesn't work well with like newer systems and such. So you kind of have to get like period accurate hardware or run it through a VM. But that's when I started learning how to flash all these drives. And at this point, I've done no, there's only one drive I haven't done. But I was going to say on the fats, I've done all the fat drives. On the slims, the only slim drives I have not done have been the Hitachi drives, which I got some goodies here I can show you all as well, too. I'm not going to open this one up, but this right here, if you can see it, yeah, you should be able to. This is a clone, at least, but it is a clone LTU2 PCB. That's Light Touch Ultimate 2, because the first one came out and it was expensive, and they end up making another one there. But essentially what you need to do for the Hitachi drives on the Slim is you don't have to RGH anymore, actually, but the process used to be, I'm gonna show y'all some stuff, right? I got some goodies here. So the process would be, there were so many little chips like this. This is a legitimate one, actually. You can see from the little runner guy right there. That is a Cool Runner Rev C. This is a legit one, you could see. This is one that I had, and I end up installing in this Slim, actually. It was right here. This Slim has been my guinea pig, by the way. Yeah, I'll get into that here, but yeah, I ended up installing this here. I did a RGH2 install on it, like, back in college, and I ended up pulling the chip out because I converted it to RGH3. And funny thing as well, too, here is, they work the same, by the way. Here is a clone one, so I got a couple I could show y'all right there. That right there is the legit one. This right there is the clone one. You can tell the difference on them, but when it comes to actual functionality, and I will say I'm happy about this, I did a video where I compared clones, so I actually used that system for it, where I did a decent install, and I ended up putting, you know, the regular chip on there and the clone chip, and the functionality was the exact same. The performance is the exact same. So even if you end up getting a clone Cool Runner, it usually end up working pretty well. But what would happen is you'd have to do something. At first it was JTAG. I know that's not what it should be called, but like, I guess like the SMC hack, that's what it was called there, the System Management Controller hack. But people just called it JTAG because you end up using the JTAG ports. You end up soldering a wire and 2 diodes, was it? I think it was. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've done one, right? But you end up soldering it on there, and then you're able to dump the system flash, you're able to modify it, and then you're able to flash it back over. I'm, like, greatly boiling this down, and then with the way it's configured is you're able to just boot up the system, and it's not going to be live safe, but essentially, when you boot up the system, you're actually able to get the hypervisor disabled on there, and you can run Homebrew, you can run unsigned code, you can run games off of a USB drive, off the internal drive without needing a disk, you could do all that stuff. Really awesome stuff right there. So that was all born from, like, the JTAG, and that's where, like, all the, like, the mod menus and infections and, like, modded lobbies and stuff end up coming about from that. Later on, it ended up being Reset Glitch Hack, where you end up getting a glitch chip like this, you end up soldering it to a few points. You also have to program the glitch chip as well, too. And essentially, once you get this all soldered in, when you turn on the system, the glitch chip here ends up pulsing, and it ends up glitching and resetting the console at a certain point. Essentially, when you're turning on the system, it's like, I'm kind of bastardizing it a little bit, but there's several points at which it goes through, and at one point, the system ends up getting to a really, really slow point, like in the CPU process, right? And if you end up glitching the system at that exact point right there, then the system will end up resetting, but when it resets, it's glitched out and it's not trying to do any type of security checks. So then it's able to boot up a modified NAND, and you're able to do all the fun stuff that you want to on there. Looking at it now, it is surprisingly and impressively complex for something that people just want to, like, play some games on. But I love that all at the same time. Like, that electrical engineering stuff is really cool. So what I'm saying is, typically what you'd need to do is you need to take a glitch chip like this, you need to solder it in, and then from there, typically you would need to then dump your system flash, and when you dump your system flash and you decrypt it, you're then able to get 2 files. You're able to get the DVD key, and you're able to get the challenge and response table from your NAND specifically. You then have to take those, you have to flash them to a custom firmware on one of these drives, and then you take that drive, you solder it, well, you take the board, you solder it in, so you have to remove the old board from your DVD drive, you pop in this new one, and then once you hook it all up, then you're able to play your burned games that way. The downside is, on those newer ones, so like the original, like the 16, I think like the Lite-On 16 D4S drives, that's it. There's a couple ways where you could modify them. One of them is essentially you need to cut a trace and you need to probe at a certain spot at a certain point in time. The other one is the one that people are kind of familiar with because it is scary, but it's also interesting. It's the kamikaze hack, where you are literally drilling a specific point on the DVD drive board. But the 16D5S, so the last Lite-On revision, as well as the Hitachi drives, you have to replace the board on there and you need those specific files. So you can do that. This is one of them for the Lite-On here. This also works on the 16D4S as well too. For example, if you have like a failed kamikaze mod, or maybe if you just have, you know, a drive that has been married to or whatever it is, you can still put that in there. So that's fine. There's some other real cool stuff as well too. This isn't even everything I have, but like, for example, here we got the Sonus 360, which this worked on. This is a slim one? No. This is the fat one, actually. This one here, what you can do is you can solder this in and you can program it. You don't need to actually modify your system, but it ends up putting, once you program it and once you flash your audio files to it, you can actually put eject and power on sounds. I end up doing this for my youngest brother. I end up doing this for my younger brothers. I actually end up building them a really cool, really custom, like Sonic the Hedgehog themed RJTAG system. And I end up putting one of these in there. So when you hit the eject button, I think this, yeah, when you hit the eject button, you get the sound of Sonic picking up a coin. And when you turn the system on or off, the sound you get is like that old school Sega. You end up getting that. So one of my favorite systems that I've modded there. You got that. Here's another one here. This is the X360 USB Pro 2. This one I have used. This is actually what allows you to hook up your DVD drives, because I had to, you know, I'll say this, I had to fight people on this, right? Like, it's not like a fist fight or something, but just like stupid internet stuff, because there would be people who, they would like come to like my flashing videos and be like, oh, well, that's stupid. Why don't you just hook it up directly to your computer? I'm like, well, you can't because of this. I'm like, well, that's stupid. Why can't you just get a SATA to USB cable? I'm like, well, no, because this. They're like, oh, well, that makes sense. But then it's annoying because it's like, by the time you end up getting the point across to them, then it's like everybody's agreeing with them because they don't read the rest of the thread. So like, just kind of an annoyance thing there. But yeah, no, this little thing, it allows you to, there's a lot more going on to it than you need, but this essentially allows you to hook this up to your computer, like a 360 disk drive to your computer, and that way it's then recognized by Jungle Flasher, so you can actually reflash it, you can do a little more. I think you can even run, I think there's even ways where you can just get it to operate like a standard DVD drive on your computer as well, too, if you really want to. So there's a few options you have on this here, but this is also really nice because there's motherboard compatibility issues sometimes. And also, as someone who for a while I just had laptops, you couldn't really hook up to like a SATA port easily on there. So this is really nice to have. I also had the original one, which I actually preferred more. This one's always been wonky with me, actually. I have a few of these devices, but this specific one here, I guess this is more just one for show, because like I said, this one just never worked quite right. And then I never, you know, bothered to return it or anything. And now it's more of just a relic. But yeah, you got all the cables there. Go ahead, put that back in. Here we go. This is one of the ones that I was using for a while for like all my drive flashing. Oh, I still have some other stuff in here too. This here, Executor CK3 Lite. This is like all that legit Executor stuff. You have this. Is this a serial cable? Yeah, as you can see, I never use this one here. But you got this that you can hook up to it. I think this is a Torx. Yeah. Torx screwdriver. I ended up just throwing that in there. That wasn't there. And then you have a power cable. And then, of course, this is the little device itself. And you can see the way it works is you just end up, yeah, you essentially power this. This is not data. This just powers up the drive. You hook it up to a 4 Molex here. You make sure that's powered. You hook this part up to your drive. And then from here, you could turn your drive on and off. You could also eject it. You can get it into mode B if needed for some flashing stuff. So this one also is a little wonky now, but I'm not going to get rid of it because, you know, just memories. Also, this is stuff too where it's like, if I get rid of this stuff, I can't really replace it, unfortunately. I have a couple other things I want to show you all as well too. This here is the NAND X. This was for a while before the X Flasher came out. This here was the best programmer that you could use to reflash your NAND. Surprisingly this ended up coming out. Like look at how legacy this is, you guys. Like this is some old school, old Executor stuff right here. Like the original packaging and everything. Yeah, this is how it looks. Like, these are the ones you could see. I end up sewing the, I pop the sewing needles on here and I heat shrink tube them. Big shout out to John Jacobs, or he used to go by Johnny Guns. Big shout out to him on there for recommending doing that. And then this is the actual Nandex itself. This one still works just fine, but I just don't use it anymore because I have the X-Flasher. And the last toy I want to show you all, and maybe I'll show you all some systems as well too. I got a few systems I end up bringing over, but the last toy I want to show you all here, some people might get excited over this. I got a demon to show you all. This one's never been used. Take a look at this. All right, so this is a fat 16 megabyte one right there, but if you open it up, has a little card like this. Please read first, with a lot of warnings and stuff. I'm not going to read to you all. It also comes with, what is this? Oh, a Demon Fat 16, well, 256 megabyte, 512 megabyte conversion kit. Cool. Okay. And then this is the actual device right here. This is not a glitch chip. This is actually a dual NAND solution right here. This essentially allows you to, I could even show you on, that is a nice looking thing right there. Very cool. Yeah, this one, like I said, this was never used, so I'm going to put this back there. But essentially, got one of these installed. So this system, essentially two systems in one. What you do is you would plug this into power. Everything's all good, right? So if you boot it up normally, it boots up like a completely stock, bog standard retail system. Like nothing else, like no extra frills, nothing. I did flash the DVD drive, but outside that, the actual system NAND on here is retail, just completely stock. But if you press this button right here, then it ends up activating the Demon board itself. And then when you turn on the system, it will end up glitching and it will end up booting up a modified NAND, which will then allow you to run your unsigned code, do all that fun stuff on there. And also has this little USB port because you can actually just hook this up to your computer and you can reflash both the stock NAND and even the Demon NAND. I did that a few times and then I chose not to because the drivers and the compatibility are incredibly frustrating. And it's disappointing because you can flash it really easily when it works. It can flash really fast when it works. But it doesn't really work well most of the time. I know this video is all over the place and this is a long video, but you know, we're doing what we're doing right here. So I guess getting further into this though, what I was doing like with the modding aspect of it was, you know, I'd had my flash DVD drives. That was fine for a bit. But I'd say I wanted more, right? I really wanted a JTAG. I didn't want to pay for a JTAG. I didn't want to buy a... I didn't want to buy like a blade system. It was hard to kind of track them down. I didn't want to buy all these broken systems and try to fix them up. So I was just at this point where I just had my, you know, I had my system there and that was it. My flash systems and that was all. Then in late 2011, early 2012, that's when I ended up finding out, and there was all this stuff. There's some drama, not drama, but there was a lot of cat and mouse between like with the flash DVD drives and stuff. Like real quick on the flash drives. Not only you had that where like Anti-Piracy 2.5 was coming out, there was kind of a new disc format that came out. We end up getting, so like XGD stands for Xbox Game Disc. So original Xbox games are XGD. Xbox 360 games are XGD2. But then they end up releasing XGD3, and it was not for the Xbox One, it was for the 360. It essentially allowed developers to access about another gigabyte worth of storage on the system, but also had a lot more security and protections on there as well too. So if there's some of those games, like if you ever install a 360 game like onto the hard drive and you have the disc in there and you boot it up and you notice even after you've installed it, the disc is still spinning for a few minutes, that's an XGD3 game. It's doing those extra checks and protections on there. So because of that, a lot of stuff ended up changing. Like XGD3 support had to come about. There were a lot of changes that had to happen. But then that happened mainly with Light Touch 2. But then the final one, Light Touch 3 that came out, that firmware was so important because at one point, Microsoft, like, they kept updating their challenge tables for this. So like I said, you would have to make sure your burned games were kept up to date. And they had to be working per dashboard. So if a new dashboard update came out, you had to get rid of your backups and you had to like repatch them and reburn them. That's what you had to do. So they end up releasing a silent update. There was no warning about it, no nothing. And what I mean by silent update is anybody who ended up after a certain point, anybody who ended up connecting their system to Xbox Live, their challenge table ended up getting updated. But it wasn't just per dashboard, it was per console. So C4EVA ended up having this idea where they essentially end up having a silver bullet of sorts. They were able to pre-calculate every single response to every single challenge out there, and then they were able to take that and patch it into the disk-based backups. So that was really the silver bullet that was really able to defeat this, that we're still able to use to this day. Like, that mod is still working here, but like the whole back and forth, the whole cat and mouse game with like especially the silent update, it was wild. Just look up like dae.bin. Like, that's that whole aspect right there, like that whole saga. But what happened was Reset Glitch Hack ended up coming about, which was, using these here. And this was a really big deal because you could only modify, you could only do the JTAG mod on fat systems like this. And you couldn't just grab one and do it. Like, no. You had to find a system that was on dashboard 7371 or lower, and then you could exploit it. If it was on a higher dashboard, you were already gone. Too far, that's it. You can't downgrade it. You can't do nothing on there. I know there's going to be people who say, actually, you can downgrade it. No, just let it play out, okay? For the most part, the average person could not downgrade their system. Let's just keep it like that. So what happened was not only this allowed the latest dashboards to work, but this actually worked on slim systems as well too, which that was the really big deal. So I remember I got excited. I spent like $100. I bought, I think this is the same one. I ended up buying this NAND X. I ended up getting a Cool Runner chip. I ended up getting the soldering supplies. I got the stuff I needed. And then I opened up the Xbox 360. This is what scares so many people. So this is why I sympathize with people, right? When they share this, right? I end up opening up the Xbox 360. I looked at the points I was about to solder on, and I'm like, it's that small, really? Like, I can't do that. I can't do that. No, I can't do that. So my first RGH, which I no longer have anymore, but like my first RGH, it was an RGH1 system. It was a Zephyr, and it was a system that I ended up having one of my best friends. His dad was really good at soldering. He went to school professionally for it. Like, it's not like he like graduated in soldering, but like for his work, he ended up going and he got like certified and such to do this. So he ended up doing the soldering work on there for me. And it worked until it didn't. It's not like it was a Zephyr issue. It was actually an issue with like unfortunately it was the way he installed it. I think it was the clock point just wasn't soldered in properly. But essentially what happened was there was one day, I had my RGH for like a month, man. I had it for like a month. And my youngest brother broke it. I was in my room. I was like studying. I was doing something. And he comes down and he's over at my Xboxes, right? And I noticed that he's over at the modded one. And he's turning it on, turning it off, turning it on, turning it off, turning it on, turning it off. And I'm like, no, what are you doing? So I go over there and I noticed this though. He pressed the button and like it didn't turn off. So I was like, no, what are you doing, dude? And then I end up turning off the system and it didn't turn back on. And occasionally, if you like let it alone for like months, it would work again. Eventually I end up fixing it. I end up like redoing the solder work on there. And then, I end up getting rid of it later, because it was a Zephyr, just didn't want it like that. Could I have kept it because it had like all that legacy hardware in it? Sure. But I didn't really see much of a value to keeping that around. I just didn't see a value to keeping around like that motherboard because I'd rather have like a Jasper or something, which there's been so many motherboard revisions there. So, I've worked on all of them to some extent, but yeah, that happened there. I didn't have an RGH for a while, and then eventually I ended up getting one, and it was like a bolt modded system, and like it was okay, it worked, but I was just annoyed because I think it was another Zephyr actually as well too. It was another Zephyr, and it was the GameStop special, so like it had like like the modified fans, and it had the bolts done on it instead of like the X clamps on the motherboard. Not good, just don't do that. But I guess I'll say I'm sharing this because not only like this kind of pushed me to it, but like originally, see, I was so afraid of soldering. Like the first time I ever tried soldering was in 8th grade, and I ended up soldering this like PCB that like lit up and stuff, and I didn't do like a great job, but like it worked. It was a very low barrier to entry. But the problem was it made me so overconfident. So after years of not soldering, I only did that one thing. I remember like 2011, I was like, yo, I'm going to order a mod chip and I'm going to mod my PS1. And I broke my childhood PS1 because I wasn't doing anything properly. Like, not at all. Like, all the stuff you see me doing videos now, I wasn't doing any of that stuff properly. So because of that, it scared me so much from using a soldering iron that I just didn't pick up a soldering iron. I was afraid doing it. And then at one point I got this stuff, and then seeing how small the points were, I was even more afraid. And then I started like practice on dead motherboards. I got a little better, but I just didn't really have as much time there. And not as much like drive to do it either. But the thing that actually motivated me finally was I ended up getting, did I get sick? No, it was around the time I got sick, right? Like at one point, it was in 2013. I had, I still had this broken PS1. I know we're going to another system, but real quick, I had a broken PS1 that had the mod chip in there. PS1s were so cheap to buy. So I finally ended up just taking that mod chip, and I was learning how to solder a bit better. And against all odds, because like the soldering iron, it was way too hot and I couldn't, turn it down. And I had some of the proper stuff, but not all the proper stuff. But I finally ended up getting the mod chip installed in one PS1, which I still have that system. It still works. I got it installed. It worked successfully. That was great. So I was like, cool, I can actually solder something and make it work. And then it was that summer, I ended up getting really sick. I ended up having like some nasty bronchitis or something. So I was pretty much just going to work because, yeah, that's still what we did. Like I would go to work and then I would just come home and I would just be sick. That was it. So I didn't have too much that I could do. And there's only so many video games that you can play at some point. So I wanted to do like some with my hands, something more technical. Now, at this point, I had been buying a lot of 360s. I was buying them broken. I was cleaning them up. I was doing some fixes. I wasn't doing like the red ring fixes all too much. But I was buying the ones that had like broken disk drives and stuff because those were super easy to fix. And then you can clean them up, refurbish them. You have a good working system right there. Then I was flashing the DVD drives on them. I'd had that down to like a science. Like I could just do that in my sleep. But what happened with the RGH side of it was actually not RGH. I did JTAG first. I ended up doing a few JTAGs because along my way, I had a local guy where I was able to buy systems from, like, broken or not good condition systems, just cheap systems. And two of them, I want to say, no, it was one. One of them was actually on blades. And it was exploitable. Now, prior to this, I already had 2 blade systems, but those 2 I shipped off to get J-tagged and I got them back. This one, I was like, you know what? I paid $5 for it. I'm going to try it myself. So I ended up soldering everything in. It was a little bit of a struggle, but I was actually able to J-tag a system myself, and then I got rid of that one too. I get, like, I didn't have as much attachment on those ones. I was kind of just wanting to do it, but like my first systems that I got J-tagged and the first J-tag I did, I ended up getting rid of those systems, but they worked. Like I was happy with them. I was pleasantly surprised. I was proud of myself. And then later on, that's when I started doing the RGH stuff, where it's like there was one night I remember, like I'll give some shout outs, like Johnny Guns again. He really helped me out with like, just being someone to bounce ideas off of, and he kind of gave me that confidence to pick up that soldering iron, as well as like Daniel or Modbot or Dope Soner 930. If you remember that dude as well too, big shout out to him. My first RGH that I actually did, I was talking to him, and it was just like one night I was like, I'm just going to RGH the system. And this was the chip right there. This was the system. This system right here was it's just my guinea pig, right? I ended up getting this from a GameStop on a whim at one point after a job interview. And it was on sale. I ended up getting this with Midnight Club LA. And then I took it home and I did the Kamikaze mod for the first time. And that is where I was able to make that tutorial showing how to flash a DVD drive with the Kamikaze hack. So this is the system I did that on. This is also the system like I said, I just randomly installed this glitch chip in there. So I didn't do a tutorial on it, but I ended up doing a video where I just showed me like installing it real quick and I synced it up to some music. I also used this system for countless videos. At one point, like the HDMI out was just not good on it. It was just like all over the place, and like it kind of resolved itself. So I thought the system was gonna die for a while, and then it didn't. It's not like I abused it, but like it just didn't die. But you could see it's not in the best shape, because even like this, like the scuffing on the back, it was there like when I got the system. But I'm like, whatever, it's a guinea pig. But then this system, it's not my first RGH3, but then I end up using this for my video showing how to convert from RGH2 to RGH3 using this system right here. And then I've used this in countless videos. Like back there, now I just have like my Trinity that I run Bad Update on, and that's kind of the demo system. But for a long time, it was this system. So this guinea pig system right here was it did a lot for the channel is what I'm saying. It's been in a lot of videos. But I'm sharing all that because like it not only it makes me happy, but it was nice to actually be able to pick up that skill set to really hone in on it. Because originally like my thing was as a kid, I thought it was so cool you could install a mod chip in a PS1. And I did that. And that was awesome. I thought having a JTAG would be really cool. I did that. Awesome. I never thought I could do RGH installs. I managed to do that. I never thought I could do PS2 mod chips installs, and I managed to do those as well too. So being able to do this stuff that I thought was impossible for a long time for me to do, because also I'll give you all a secret. I'll try and keep this steady, right? Kind of like I'll do something like that. My hands are not steady. You can see it's not like they're like shaking like this, right? And there's no like neurological disorder. There's no like a physical issue there. It's not Parkinson's. It's just very simply put, I do not have steady hands. Now, it used to be worse, and it has gotten better, but the cool thing is, I can do cool shit like this even with my shaky hands. So it's kind of nice because it used to be something I was made fun of at times, or like people would poke fun at, but now like for so many years, like if people make fun of this, I'm like, well, one, I mean, that's a really shitty thing to do, to make fun of something that like someone can't control. And two, like if my hands are like, cool, my hands are shaky, right? But how is it that I can do better work than you? So that's how I look at it. Like there's this Tool song. It was it Swamp Song? No, it was Bottom, actually. There's a song Bottom by Tool. There is a lyric in there that Henry Rollins had, which did not make it to the final cut, but it was, I'll make weapons out of my imperfections. And that's what I did right there. Steady hands, I'm able to do this stuff, man. So, or not steady hands is what I'm saying. But no, there's been a nice sense of accomplishment being able to do stuff like that I really didn't think I could. On top of that, it all kind of funneled back into this channel here because all these things, like, you know, learning to solder, you could see it there, like the tutorials on showing how to do this with the system, how to do that with the system, how to install this. It was all done here. I've always liked doing the video work. Before I was tinkering with anything, actually, wait, no. Yes, actually, before, you know, no, I think I've been tinkering with stuff as long as I've loved doing video stuff. Like, I was messing around with electronics, like, as a toddler and doing stuff I shouldn't have. And I was also messing around with the video and doing, like, stuff like with camcorders and all that as well, too. So I've been, these have been, like, very personal, like, major things in my life that I've always, like, found entertainment with and found importance with, and I've always appreciated and loved to do. And being able to just like make these electronics tick and see if there's a limitation, like, can't we get past this? Why can't we do this? Okay, we can do this. How far can we push it? And having a really stellar game library like this and being able to play off an external drive or do what you need to, or really just being able to go back to with things we used to do back in the day. Like one of these old school things, like if you get like a music CD, right? Copying and ripping music used to be so ubiquitous. Everyone would do it. But what a lot of people did, including me, like if we got a new CD, we'd go home, we'd make a backup of it, we'd burn it to a CDR, and then that way you keep the original safe on your shelf, and then you can take the CDR with you, you put it in your car. That way if it gets damaged, stolen, cracked, whatever it was, you lost 10 cents as opposed to 10 or 15 bucks. And it was nice to be able to do that as well because games are expensive, man. Games were expensive. And these are things that, like, hey, if I have them, I want to take care of them. But if I can make it a little bit more convenient for myself, like if I can just bring my system around with a whole lot of games on the drive, that's really nice as well, too. And I still want my physical aspect to that, of course. But no, like, some of the coolest mods I've seen have absolutely been, like, the JTAG, RGH, all the iterations of it, getting up to RGH3, and of course, what we're seeing back there is Bad Update. And this is really kind of working up to this as well, too. We're doing the impossible now with the 360, right? The 360 is one of the most secure systems ever made. And I know people might think that's odd to say because it's like, dude, the system's been hacked up for so long. No, the big thing with the system, the big issue was the hypervisor, right? So there was a few ways around it. Like one of them was, of course, Microsoft didn't want pirated games being run on the system, but people were able, near the end of the original Xbox's life cycle, people figured out how to reflash the DVD drive on there. But hard mods and soft mods were so ubiquitous and so common and so much better that there really wasn't much of a desire to have a flash DVD drive. But that work that was done on the original Xbox was a good starting basis for work on the 360. Because the 360 was secured, but the disk drive wasn't so much there. So That was done, but the hypervisor was not broken. Even all these modifications that I'm talking about, you had to do hard mods in some way. You had to literally glitch your system and use that to disable the hypervisor to get into a better point, to get your elevated access on there. However, just being able to like take a USB drive and load it up with files and load your mods on it, that's been a dream for a long time. And Grim Doomer ended up making that happen this year. That was really cool. It wasn't the most stable thing when it came out, and it took a little bit of time to really get up and running, but now it's at a pretty nice point where it's like I can even show you this, right? We're gonna turn off the system. This is pretty much how it is now, because there's a lot of people, they don't like that this is a tethered exploit, but just watch this. I have it running in the background right there. It is specifically running a bad avatar, which is by Shutterbug. And when you have that, you can have it set up so it just launches into it right at the beginning. So even though this is not a RGH, you could see that we're going to see this in real time. When it's running, there is... Where's the notification? Did it freeze? Did it freeze? Oh, I see what the issue is. Hold on. There's certain things you need to look out for. Okay. I had another USB drive plugged in. When you do this at the time of exploitation, you can only have one USB drive plugged in there. So, yeah, but what happens is you can turn it on, and this is the process. I'm showing you all uncut here. Yes, it is nice when you have a RGH, you can just turn on the system and you get into a modified state right off the rip. But even with this, it's so fast, and it's so, it's just you turn on the system, that's it. But once you have this set up, you can literally just turn on the system, look, it's there. You can get, while I'm talking, but you can like turn on your system, go to the bathroom, wash your hands, please wash your hands. And then like once you're good at that point. So we're going to hit back right here. There we go. And then look, it's going to load up Aurora. So having that was completely impossible, but he ended up making the impossible happen, finding a hypervisor exploit that was actually usable on new systems on a modern firmware. So at this point now, you can go out, you can go on a Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, Game Shop, wherever you want to go to, and you can just buy any Xbox 360. And as long as it's running the latest dashboard, and if it isn't, you can update to it. And then you're able to get to that point right there. You're able to load up Aurora. Like, that's super cool. This is pretty much endgame at this point. I know that there is a soft mod that's coming out, and from what I've seen, it looks like it's probably going to utilize a hard drive like this, and you're probably going to have to reflash this. Keep in mind, I don't know any more about it than you all do, okay? I'm just going off of what I've seen Grim Doomer post when he talked about this a few months ago. But the point is, to me, it looks like you're going to have to take a hard drive. You're probably going to have to reflash the firmware on there. And then from there, the nice thing is you could hook this up to a 360, and you could use this essentially as your soft mod device, so you can boot into a hacked up environment like that without soldering, hopefully, and without needing to RGH your actual system, which is really cool. The thing is, though, a lot of people I know are not going to want to do that. The thing is, though, a lot of people, let's be realistic, are not going to want to do that. But Bad Avatar and Bad Update right there are so good that I don't think... what I'm saying is I think a world can exist for all these things. Because people are saying like hard mods are dead on the 360. I don't think they're dead. I think there's just a lot less demand for them. But I think it's probably going to be something similar to what we've seen with the original Xbox. And by that, I mean, for so many years, it felt like hard mods were dead, right? But they were still around, and now it's just gotten to the point where not only the systems are so old that for some of the factors of the system and some of it just how the system was actually built, the original Xbox, just some of the limitations and such, you really do need to hard mod it in order to future-proof it properly. But even so, with the hard mod, you can get some really, really nice features you cannot get with a soft mod on the original Xbox. Now, some people might not care about those features, and that's totally fine. But if you want a better experience, if you want more accessibility, if you want to future-proof it a little more, hard mod is definitely the better way to go. And that is still the same on 360. Now with 360, with the mods that you can do and such, like the software-only mods, we're getting to a better point of parity where it's like you'll always be able to do more with a hard mod. That's where you'll be able to do, you know, your physical dual NAND, triple NAND, quadruple NAND, all that fun stuff. You can go up to 16 terabytes on internal and external drives with additional patches as well too. But for the most part, like, this is pretty fine for people. And like I said, I mean, I'll even show you all again. It's no cold boot, right? Like, you still have to go through the process, but just looking at this right here, just literally turn on the system, you go to the bathroom, you wash your hands. Again, please wash your hands, because of people like you who don't wash your hands, people like me get sick. Okay? Happens so much in college, man. Happens so much. But no, just because of, like, again, this that I'm describing here, this is fine for most people. And if they can have an RGH-like experience just by waiting a few moments to get their system booted up, then, like, most people are going to do that. There's no issue there. I'm looking forward to seeing what will happen here. Wow, look at that. It fired up like that as well, too. Okay, yeah, there's a chain animation. I thought it kind of froze at first, but no, we just had to wait for that. So I'm getting to the end. The funniest thing is, I know we're like 2 hours into this, right? If you made it to the end of this, thank you. I really appreciate it. If you can believe it, there was actually more that I wanted to say, and there's more that I wanted to share. Let me share the last things, because I did bring these things up. I did originally think of doing some kind of, crazy modded system, but I decided not to, because my thing is, I don't really do as many mods on this channel for the sake of doing them. I do a lot of mods because I find interest in them, and they are things that I actually use. And I ended up making my own dream Xbox 360, and this is it right here. Now, this is not like, a super custom case or anything, but this here is the Halo 4 console. I bought this several years ago. It's not in the best shape, but, I cleaned it up and everything. But I bought this console. Great system. It's worked well for me. I think that this is my favorite slim model, honestly. Out of them, I love the Halo 4 model. I love this one as well, too, just the standard matte black one. This is the way to go. The other one I also really like is the Modern Warfare... No, not Modern Warfare. The Gears of War 3 version, but I've never owned one of those. But the thing is, I wanted one of these systems. I wanted one ever since I saw one, and I ended up getting it, and I ended up doing a dual NAND mod on there. And I screwed up RGH3 on here, unfortunately, so I ended up going with sRGH, so it has a physical chip in there. I did a whole video showing this as well, too, but the good news is that it works pretty well. So the way it works is, like, once you plug it in, when you plug it in initially, it's running retail, because I'm one of those oddities, like, I still like to have a retail system. And then if you hold down the sync button, the LED on here blinks a couple times, which signifies the second NAND is operational, and that is the modified side of it. I also flash the DVD drive as well, too. I end up replacing the board in there with one of these. So did all that fun stuff. Now this one I'll get a little sappy with it, right? My my friend who, my coworker, I told you the guy's like the best friend I still have, but like my coworker from like that game shop who sold me my first system, right? There's something a little poetic about this, right? He sold me that first system. It was a Xenon. It's been long gone for a while now, and we've been in contact for so many years now. Again, like, dude is one of my best friends. So at one point, I was looking for a Winchester motherboard, because now I was never motivated to get a Winchester board, because that was the only model that you could not modify. Outside of, you could modify the LED on the front. That was it. But you couldn't do any mods like that. You couldn't flash the DVD drive. You could do like USB mods, which like technically now you can do that. So once Bad Update got to a point where it was like pretty stable, and that was thanks to KMX 360, because it's so fast because of the work that was done there. But once it finally got to a good point like that, where it was like quite usable and quite good and quite stable, and you just didn't have to wait as long to get in there, that's when I was finally motivated to get a Winchester motherboard, especially with the upcoming soft mod coming up. So I started looking, I was kind of looking around a little bit. I went to a game shop, they didn't have any, right? I asked my girlfriend, this is a little cute thing. My girlfriend looks for stuff on Facebook Marketplace and other places for me. She'll find amazing deals on old consoles like that, right? But I asked, I'm like, hey, can you look for a Winchester motherboard? These are the specifications I'm looking for. She looked and she looked and she looked, and she's like, dude, I can't find them. Like, people don't have them. And that's kind of the thing, too. It depends on the region you're in. But where I'm at, Winchester motherboards and Winchester consoles are very rare to find, because by late, like around here, like late 2014 and 2015, people really were not buying brand new Xbox 360s. Like, they just weren't. So that's why there's not as many of them out there. So I messaged this friend, right? And I said, hey, dude, can you do me a favor? Because you're hitting up, Facebook and all that stuff quite a bit. Can you find a Winchester for me? And like, just let me know if you're able to find one. This is what I'm looking for. And if you find one, I'll pay you back. He hits me up like an hour or two later. He sends me a few photos and he's like, is this the one you're looking for? I know this looks like just like, I don't like this model, by the way. This is just the 360E right here. But he ended up having one of these in his garage. And I was like, dude, okay, how much do you want for it? And he's like, I don't want anything, man. Like, you've done a lot for me. And you could, dude, it's been sitting in my garage doing nothing. I would rather you have it because you can do a lot more with it. Just show me the cool stuff you're going to do with it. So it was really nice. And then even so, he was going to like bring it up to me, but then he ended up just mailing it to me because he's like, dude, I'm going to be so busy. I don't want you to wait around for it. So I just mailed it to you. So I really loved and I appreciated him for that. But yeah, this one was manufactured November 12th, 2014. And this here's a Winchester, so I end up using this. I tried Bad Update on it. I dumped everything on here as well, too. I haven't done any other mods to it, mind you, but keep in mind, now you can actually flash the DVD drive, so you can have a persistent mod. You can do Bad Update or Bad Avatar on here. Of course, presumably the the soft mod I was talking about with the hard drive, that should work here as well, too, so that's pretty nice. But yeah, no, it's a nice poetic thing that, like, the dude who got me into this 360 world, like really got me into it, is the one who ended up giving me, and he gave me the first motherboard that came out. He also ended up giving me the last motherboard right here. Except that one, I paid for the original one. This one he just gave to me for free. So it was really nice there. By the way, when I ran Bad Update on here, not only it runs so well, like it boots up really fast on here, faster than my other motherboards, but also the system runs really cool too. So I am even more excited for this soft mod because that means I can soft mod the Winchester here, doing the impossible all over again. And debatably, you could have one of the best systems to do it on. There's also a couple other systems I want to show you all too. This here, when I moved at one point, I had a bunch of systems that were kind of like wrapped up like this. And so I can show you, this is the nice thing about it. I can kind of just, as opposed to ruining the bubble wrap, I can kind of just take this off. But I'm showing you this because there's nothing super... I'm sure this is... this has to be driving people crazy. They're like, man, you're making me wait here 2 hours, just slowly take this thing off like a strip show, Halo 3 strip show or something. Yeah. Wow, this is a pretty system. This here is my favorite FAT system. And you can see, like, this one is kind of... Man, this even smells good too. Like, this smells like a new system. This right here, I really wanted one of these things, but man, I thought this was disappointing, right? This came out after the Elite, right? So tell me why the onboard hard drive is 20 gig. You couldn't even give us a 60 gig Microsoft, like really? Whatever, okay. But the point is, this system is absolutely beautiful. This is my favorite FAT model of the Xbox 360. Absolutely love how these ones look. You might be wondering why I don't use this one here. It's because it's so nice. I want to keep it in nice shape. I want to keep it in good condition. So, I'm gonna put this back on camera. Okay, cool. But no, this here is, some people ask, they're like, what are your favorite models? Like, again, for the Slim, I don't like the E, but the Slim S, the Halo 4 model I absolutely love. The Gears of War 3 model I love. The matte black version, I don't like those glossy ones, so the matte one is the way to go. But for the FAT system here, the Halo 3 one, this by far is my favorite one. I still have 2 of these systems, and the only thing I've done on these ones, I flashed the DVD drives on them. I haven't done any hard mods on them. One of them, I end up modding the fans to run at a higher speed. You don't really need to do that. I need to undo that at one point, but even if I don't, it'll be fine enough. It's okay. But yeah, there's that. And then this one I still get asked about. So if you've made it to the very end of this video, I swear I'm going to wrap this up here soon. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. I appreciate it. You're in for a treat here. Come on, can we take this off faster? Okay, there. Okay, I got it. If you're wondering what's so special about this, this is my Jasper JTAG system. Yes, this is a Jasper, or I guess technically it's a Tonka set, is what people say. Is it? I don't know. Or is it? No, Kronos. No, it's Kronos. It's Kronos. That's what people have told me. They've said it's a Kronos, even though it's, it's still Jasper there. But this is my Jasper JTAG. I got this, the motherboard and the disk drive were given to me years ago by a viewer of the channel. And many people have asked, like, whenever, like it'll be random. It'll be like every few years, like a random person will ask me, like, hey, yo, do you still have that Jasper JTAG? I have it right here. This is also another one here. It just stays in my collection because I want to keep it in good condition. And it's not like a thing that I really show off or anything. Like, I end up doing this and I got it because I wanted it. I wanted a JTAG. I wanted Jasper. This is my only is it? Yeah, no. This is my second JTAG I have, actually. I just realized there's another one I haven't even talked about on camera or anything. I technically, is it a Point is, at one point, I end up getting, from Johnny Guns, I end up getting some old systems from him that he had, and I end up getting his 360, and the one that he has, it has a Signos dual NAND set up on there, and the problem is, I cannot remember if it's a RGH or if it's a JTAG. So I might have two JTAGs. This is the problem, right? This is what I said earlier. Didn't I say this earlier? When you get your second system, the other one just kind of start to grow and multiply. That's what happens, man. But yeah, I don't even know if I answered this one directly, but I guess I'll just say this here. This is a lot of why I love the 360 so much. I have a lot of love for it. I have a lot of appreciation for it. I've had a lot of fun times. I still play on the system, by the way. I'm not just covering it here. I'm not just, messing around with it because Bad Update is out and I'm trying to get views and stuff. No, it's not that. If I can help people out with Bad Update, that's fantastic. But legitimately, I do play on these systems. Earlier this year actually, I've been playing mostly on 360 and Switch, funny enough, and then I've been messing around on the PSP again as well too. I'm kind of a bit jaded with modern gaming, and even before Bad Update came out, I was playing newer games on these systems. Like this year, I ended up finishing Ninja Gaiden 2 on the 360. What was the other game? I played some other ones. I played Halo Spartan Assault on there. Battlefield 3. I actually played through Battlefield 3 on the 360. I'd started it like 8 times. I never finished it. And even though, here's the thing, I have a great computer, right? I could play Battlefield 3 like it's nothing. Like, this computer playing Battlefield 3 is like my phone playing Flappy Bird or something, right? It's going to tickle the computer at best. It's not going to do anything intensive on here. But I was playing it on 360 because, one, I still love playing on that console there, and two, I wanted to see how impressive it was, and honestly, it was impressive how well it played. And even, like, when I was playing it, my girlfriend's next to me, she's looking at it, she's like, dude, this, like, what is this game? Battlefield 3? Like, is this popular? Like, is it, like, and this 360, like, this looks really good. And, like, a lot of games still hold up really well. You can get these 360s for really affordable prices. They are HD ready to go. HDMI off the rip right there. So it's not like an original Xbox or PS2 where you have to adapt or you have to mod in HDMI. You just have that all available. The thing that shocks me the most is they are still supported to this day. You can take a 360, you can connect to Xbox Live, and you can play on there. When it's up. It goes down quite a bit on 360. And keep in mind, there's going to be people that will say, because they've told me this, they've been like, yeah, it's people like me, it's like my fault because, like, I'm helping people get their systems modded and stuff. Here's the thing, there's been more people with the 360s going online and stuff, and I don't advocate for that, but like going online with their systems, they do what they do. There's been more people who are getting their systems, they're dusting them off, whatever it is, they're, just playing online with them. For years, it's not a new thing, for years prior to this, 360 Xbox Live was pretty unusable. So, yeah, it was very unusable for a very long time, unfortunately. And this is just kind of more showing the cracks on there. So I'm going to be honest with you all, I don't know how much longer it's going to go on for. I'm shocked it's gone on for this long. They've already disabled the marketplace, so you cannot buy anything. Like, you can't just browse the marketplace and buy stuff on there anymore. And I feel like they do still have support on it because there's Xbox 360 games that are compatible on One and Series that have online play, such as the old Call of Duty games. But it goes down often enough that it's got to be more of an annoyance for Microsoft to maintain, if anything. I personally believe, this is kind of a general thing, but I really feel like once this hard drive type soft mod thing comes out for the system, probably shortly after we'll hear them say, hey, we're just going to be cutting off Xbox Live on the 360. Or if they do have it, it's going to be like very minimal. Like you might not even be able to play online or something like that. I don't know. You can just sync up your time or something, I guess. We'll see what happens. But I've had a lot of love for this system. I've also had hate for the system at some point. And, the Red Ring stuff, it wasn't great, mind you. A lot of us had to prepare for that. But it's kind of just, to me, the 360, it's still a great system to use in the modern day. It's still getting great support like through mods and such. Now we can use SSDs on even retail systems, which is really awesome. So we're getting more and more love and support for this system, which is wonderful. And the homebrew community is really running with that. But it's like the last real Xbox experience to me, you know? Xbox One, I liked it at the beginning. Not like the TV thing, not that. But when it came out, I actually thought the lineup was better than the PS4's lineup. And I liked the Xbox One. But even the first day I had the Xbox One, I was back on the 360 because my friends were on there. I was really one of the few people who got the Xbox One. Xbox has really lost their way. And I'll even put it like this. One of my best friends, I end up surprising him with an RGH, right? Now, he only has two systems. He has the RGH Xbox 360 I gave him, and he has an Xbox Series X loaded up with Game Pass. Right now, he's playing through Expedition 33, and he also has the RGH that he's playing on. And his opinion on it, not only he's annoyed at Microsoft, bumping up the price of Game Pass and such, but he has said, dude, I've used the modded 360 now. I get it. I understand why these things are so cool. Like, you told me a lot about them. I've seen them at your place. You've showed me them. But like now actually using one, like this thing is so cool. Like I love it. I use this thing every single day. It's awesome. And just kind of getting back to a point of you don't have huge updates. You don't have all these extra features and functionalities that can be great, but can also bog down a system. And you have like the proper... Back in the day, you had the proper kind of balance between an entertainment system and a game system. A lot less entertainment now because like apps such as like, I don't even know if YouTube works on 360. Plex doesn't work on the 360. Netflix, I don't think, is officially supported. So pretty much all those media apps are gone. There's really no social media apps on the Xbox 360 anymore either. Those are gone. I mean, you can play CDs on there. You can rip them. You have visualizers. You can play DVDs as well too. You can play HD DVDs technically. So it's really the last like game system like that, like modern one that's really supported, one of those last ones. So even now it's like, it's not the same experience, but if you've never experienced how it is like to just play on a 360, you can get a stock system. You can connect it to your network. You can play on Xbox Live. You can access it, and you can, even though it's not going to be the same, you can at least get a taste of how things were back in the day. And the biggest thing too with this system was the evolution that it went through. And I was there for a lot of that, not all of it, but I was there for a lot of the evolution. And that was the big thing, because a lot of the stuff that is standard in systems now, we were seeing come to fruition on the Xbox 360. Probably the last thing I want to talk about, because I remembered I want to talk about this here. When the Xbox Live Arcade came out, that was a big deal on 360. And it was such a big deal that little changes were a big deal. So going from 200 gamer score to 250 gamer score was a big deal. Being able to bump up the limit, because I believe the original limit was like Xbox Live Arcade games had to be under 50 megabytes. And then they end up removing that limit. And the first game, this was monumental, the first game that ever blew past that limit to celebrate it was Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Like, one of the best games ever made. For the PS1, ended up getting ported over to the Xbox Live Arcade. And it was also on PS3 as well, too. But just stuff like that was so monumental and so big on the system and really crossing into new territories. There wasn't ads like plastering the entire screen all over the place. There were ads in the dashboard, mind you, but now you turn on your Series X, you as opposed to seeing this video, you see a whole ad. That's what's happening, even though, yeah, we're on an ad-supported platform, mind you, but that's what I'm talking about, right? You're getting that. There's something nice about just having a console that plays games. Good games at that. Not having to require big updates. Right now, if I wanted to, I could go out to, I could meet up with someone on, Facebook Marketplace. I could buy a system from them. I could bring it here, turn it on, make sure it works, take my copy of Ninja Gaiden, pop it in. This is optional, but I could even install it to the internal drive and then just play it without connecting to the internet, without having any other reliance on there. And that's something that more and more people are really appreciating and really gunning after. And that's part of why I love the 360 so much. It really, it's a vibe. It really just embodies that really well. And I still love the system. I don't foresee when I'll stop playing on it, really. Because I'll tell you this, last thing, right? I've been around on this system for a while. You could see that this really helped cement the foundation of the channel. For a while, I wasn't covering it as much. So it was so funny when people would, because for a while, if I was covering PS3, PS4, I had people coming in who were just like, you should cover the 360. Hey, dude, your videos are really good. You should cover 360 stuff. I'm like, where have you been? Where have you been? I spent years covering the 360. What are you talking about? But I also have to realize that, yeah, people know me for different game systems. So the people who are watching like now, who just found me yesterday, for example, they're not going to know the stuff I was uploading in 2011, 2012. But even when nobody was really messing with the 360, I was still messing with these systems. I was still uploading videos. I was still doing things with them. I was still performing modifications on these systems when nobody cared about them. Like, seriously, like 2018, like 2000, let's say 2017, 2018, 2019, people did not care about the Xbox 360 at all. There wasn't even a nostalgia blast for it. People just looked at it like junky old systems that why would anybody play on those? That's how people looked at it. That's how people looked at the 360. But guess what? I was still messing around with it, man. So I will say, I guess, you know what, to finally close this out here, I've gotten this question asked quite a bit. The Xbox 360 is my favorite console ever. I'd say surprisingly, the Switch is up there as well too. The Switch 2, we're too early in the life cycle to determine. Like, the Switch really surprised me with that, right? But I would say, because I get this question asked quite a bit, out of handhelds, the PSP is absolutely my favorite handheld. Actual consoles, like a home console, the 360 is my favorite. I guess we could technically say the Switch is my favorite hybrid system. So that works out there as well too. But yeah, you know what? Out of my three favorites, I just realized I was able to get like the big three in there. So that's just how it is with the channel. I like to cover as much as I can, when I can, and what I can do. You know what I mean? But if you made it to the end of this video, I gotta edit this thing. I gotta like set up the timestamps and all that. I gotta put all this stuff. Dude, I'm surrounded by, I got dog right there. Lily has fallen off the bed at this point. Lily's head is not even on the bed anymore. That's how long this video has been going on for. I gotta like put all these consoles away and stuff, and all these little toys and trinkets and all that. But you know what? Happy birthday, Xbox 360. If you made it to the end of this video, seriously, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out. Really, really appreciate it. I'm really trying to think of if we should... Usually on my podcast, this is not a podcast, but it's a podcast-like video. Let's use the word remote. I typically pick this here. I got this LED remote here. If you have made it to the end of this, again, thank you so much. But if you use the word remote in a comment on the video upload here, I'll know that you made it to the end of this video here. And if you did, again, seriously, thank you. And I really appreciate it, because this video, I know it's not going to get like a ton of views or anything. This is just like a passion video right here, because like, it's just me in front of the camera talking about Xbox 360 shit for over 2 hours. I'm not going to be able to cut this down any further. This is, you know what? But you know what? It's fine, because it's not every day that your favorite game console turns 20 years old. So let's see if we're still going to be doing this at age 25. How about that? Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off for real this time. Later, everyone. Thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, a like would absolutely be appreciated. If you didn't like it, a dislike is fine as well, too. I got to get all this stuff cleaned up now.